This is pornography. But first, apparently, Judge Rutherford had hundreds, maybe thousands of slaves and likely died by AIDS. We must reject apostate lies and the false stories of my mother. How much greater is a homosexual than a million Jehovah's Witnesses? 1,000 times greater. So we're talking about thousands of homosexual Hebrews, and likely 3 Hebrews can successfully complete a decathlon. I know Jesus died in childbirth. Jehovah died in 2012, a little over 8 years ago, and his overseer, a tree, died in combat. But in the new world, apparently, my mother will need to be a homosexual. But cancer prevented that from happening.
Hey everybody, my name is Jake. Welcome to the show. This is Sunday Service, and this is the first time that we've got an actual Sunday Service feed. I made a comment in the live feed. After this is over, I will pin a comment in chat so you can subscribe to the new channel. In a couple weeks, I'm going to stream here and only leave the show up on the Sunday Service channel for the playback. So be sure to subscribe to that. And welcome. I am named Jake. That is me. I'm a former Jehovah's Witness, current glasses haver. Thank you for the compliment on my glasses. I think I had them last week, but I just, some people didn't notice. Sometimes it takes a little bit for people to adjust to a new face. Is it a haircut? No, it's glasses. It's definitely not a haircut because I need a haircut and I need to comb my hair, but I forgot I was running super behind and I had to do this stupid poop. I had to edit that stupid intro. I got to. I was having way too much fun. I've got a lot of clips I can use for future material. And then I realized it was like 4 minutes until I had to start streaming, so I had to render something. Yeah, exclusive scoop. Jehovah died in 2012. Jesus died in childbirth. Judge Rutherford owned thousands of slaves. So yeah, we got a lot going on. And also, yeah, I don't know. Okay, so what the hell are we talking about today? If this is your first time watching, we talk about the latest and greatest, low bar to clear in the Jehovah's Witness world, the cult that I grew up in. And so I thought we would kick things off by talking about an article that has been on the website before, but I don't think I've ever talked about it on a stream. And if I have, I don't remember it. So sound off in chat. Have I gone over this before? God damn it. Listen. Jeffrey Dahmer does not have a monopoly on this kind of glasses. Okay. I think Mooney is correct that it's giving rich 70s businessman. I just wanted a 70s vibe, but literally everyone is saying I look like a murderer. Imagine being so successful at killing that you ruin a brand of glasses for all time. Thank you, Colder Pizza, for the super chat, super sticker. I'm at work, healthcare. Hope y'all are chilling. Hey, I work in healthcare too. I mean, this, of course, this is healthcare, right? What I'm doing. So there's this article on protect yourself from misinformation that is just funny. And actually, it might be interesting to talk about. If you want to get real spicy and controversial, we could talk about this article. Does Bible prophecy point to the modern state of Israel? A bit that I cut out of the video that I released this past week on the main channel is I went on a bit of a tangent, like, boy, oh boy, the modern governing body must regret moving away from Zionism, right? Russell, Charles Taze Russell was huge on Zionism. He was huge on Israel playing a central role in the outworking of Bible prophecy. Because, of course, right, if you believe in the Bible, Israel is like the main character for the first 2/3 of the Bible. So that's something that Rutherford moved away from. Rutherford, who we just learned objectively and conclusively owned thousands of slaves in the 1920s. But yeah, Rutherford moved away from the Israel stuff. And definitely by the time Nathan Knorr got there, all that stuff was gone. So it's just not a thing anymore. They went all in on Russia. And now, I don't know. We'll get into it maybe or not if I don't want to get my channel demonetized. I did start that YouTube poop by saying pornography. I work in sterile processing and surgery. I assist with those departments. I don't feel like getting into it because my job is boring. Okay, so let's get into protect yourself from misinformation. This has kind of been a theme on the channel. Actually, this would have been a good one to go over with Ron Pomo the other week, who I believe is in chat. Protect yourself from misinformation. And then after this, we've got some options. We'll check in with chat, but start thinking about it. There was a part on Yang Wan's on the midweek meeting that's very cringe. It's about not having sex and not being too horny and not doing anything about your horniness. I think I glanced at it for 2 seconds. I think that's what it's about. And then there's a Watchtower today that's crazy, but then I can never remember what I already covered on the show. And then there's also a video that we could watch. There's a video that I'm obsessed with where all of these clips from the YouTube poop are from. And I've also just got some rants that I'm just going to jump into for free at an opportune moment, to use JW lingo. Okay, let's talk about this. Let's talk about protect yourself from misinformation. For example, there's some misinformation that this kind of glasses, as far as I could tell, thousands of other people bought from iBuy Direct or whatever the hell the websites from where I ordered these glasses, had great reviews. Hundreds, if not thousands, are buying them. Are all these people being accused of being Jeffrey Dahmer-esque? You know, people need glasses. I don't know what to tell you. It's like, no, I'm not even going to say that next thing. Okay, protect yourself from misinformation. Protect yourself from being accused of looking like a serial killer just because your glasses look awesome objectively. Okay, today, what is this? Sunday, April 14th. That's today. On Sunday, April 14th, 2024, year of our Lord, you have access to more information than ever, including the kind that can help you stay safe and healthy. But in your search, you need to beware of misinformation such as misleading news, false reports, and conspiracy theories. And there's a link to that one. I guess we have to look at that next, since that's been my ballywick on the channel this year. Does anybody know what ballywick means? I don't. I just hear it in context. Other people use it. I wanted to try it on. For example, should I do a Malenfant? I'm feeling a little bit of a Malenfant mood, I think. For example, during the COVID-19 pandemic. Oh, God, I got to settle into this. Hang on a second. Jehovah God, the Watchtower Bible and Tract Society. I don't think I'm nailing William Malenfant. Oh, there it is. Okay, for example, during the COVID-19 pandemic, the General, Secretary, reverse it, of the United Nations warned of a dangerous epidemic of misinformation. I think Ken Flodine's right around this here, too. Harmful health advice and snake oil solutions are proliferating, he stated. Falsehoods are filling the airwaves. Wild conspiracy theories are infecting the internet. Hatred is going viral, stigmatizing and vilifying people and groups. Okay, so this is obviously... Wait, no. I didn't know that. I think I'm the one person in America who just doesn't care about Jeffrey Dahmer. He's dead, right? I think, or in prison or something. I legitimately don't know anything except I think he ate people. It was maybe played by Zac Efron in a show that got bad press because they made Jeffrey Dahmer hot. Maybe that was another show. Hey, okay. I just kind of realized in the moment that I could do it. I just believed in myself. That's how you do impressions, everyone. You just believe in yourself. Not really. Okay. This is like the one thing that Watchtower can stand on is they're like, we didn't become anti-vax during the pandemic. We followed the guidelines of the World Health Organization. And I think that's good that they did that, but also it's kind of the only conspiracy theory that they don't believe in. And also, I believe that JW Facts has a little bit about how they used to be anti-vax. That doesn't really matter to Jehovah's Witnesses, I guess, because they're like, well, the new light is the only thing that counts. It doesn't matter anything that's ever been said before. If I was lied to before, I didn't notice it, so it doesn't matter. Got to go catch up Thursday at work. Thank you, JW Edgy, who I think I follow on social media. That name sounds familiar. Bailiwick, obsolete British term for municipal area, refers to a bailiff's areas of control. Oh, very interesting. You ever read like an old British book, like an old, I don't know, like Arthur Conan? I read Arthur Conan Doyle. He writes Sherlock Holmes corn parodies. Arthur Conan Doyle, he like when they spell the word jail, it's spelled like GAEL or GAOL or something. You know how they British people spell everything wrong forever and still do a lot of times. We talk about this sometimes. I have a real hatred of British people. No, I don't. The governor himself is an Englishman, and he's wonderful. And I obviously love the accents. I should continue. That was one paragraph. What has it been? 12 minutes? Okay. Yes. This is jail. Shulamite Faden actually got there first. Jail, GAOL. Tires. Are they trying to show off? Like, we can technically spell it like this and still get away for it. Aluminium. Ridiculous. They have a whole different periodic table in England that just has a little E at the end of each of the elements. Did you know that? Okay. That was an example of misinformation. Sometimes misinformation is just a joke. This is when somebody tells jokes. Oh, God. This chair, by the way, I swear to God, I'm going to get it to the second paragraph of this article. But I wrecked my back like a week or two ago. I just was in this chair editing for like 6 hours. And when I got up, I didn't. I couldn't get up at all. I just ruined my back. I could not walk. I thought that I had like kidney stones or something because I had kidney stones before and I had that like kind of lower back sides of your back pain. And I thought that I was dying. I thought I was dying, but I wasn't. It was just this chair. So don't buy your chairs from Walmart for like $40. It turns out they're made to give you scoliosis permanently and immediately. However, this is the only chair I have. Of course, misinformation is not new. However, the Bible foretold that in our day, wicked men and impostors would advance from bad to worse, misleading and being misled. The Bible foretold the concept of lying. You know that misinformation has already existed forever, right? They didn't predict that misinformation would happen. It has always happened because lies have always existed ever since Satan possessed a snake. And that's a real historical thing that happened. And the internet now allows us to receive and unintentionally spread false news more easily and quickly than ever. As a result, our email, social media, and news feeds can quickly become filled with distorted facts and half-truths. I got a text, so I was distracted while reading it. Okay, I have no issues with this minus everything about the Bible. Delete this, and I agree with their premise. My only concern is that I'm reading this on jw.org, a website that only exists to spread misinformation about Jehovah's Witnesses, which I have a whole website dedicated to, jwfaq.org. I had to think about it. Would that not be Mr. Information? It's always males making all this false info. They tell the women to be quiet. That's a great question. Here's another one. Do they have women writing any of these articles on jw.org, like in the writing department? Are the ladies invited? I genuinely don't know. Immediate Scoliosis is a great band name. I agree. How can you protect yourself from misleading information, conspiracy theories? Consider some Bible principles that can help. By the way, you don't need any Bible principles to help you combat misinformation. 0 Bible principles are required to have media literacy. I would actually argue that the Bible may or may not have some misinformation itself, but maybe we'll get into that. I don't know. I'm not like a smart atheist debater person. Do not believe everything you see or hear. Bold words, those. What the Bible says, the naive person believes every word, but the shrewd one ponders each step. The Bible principle that is not applied when it relates to the materials presented by Jehovah's Witnesses, that you actually should believe every word and not ponder every step of joining Jehovah's Witnesses, for instance. We can easily be deceived if we are not careful. Okay, so step 1, be careful. Great advice. Consider, for example, captioned images or brief videos that are widely spread online, especially through social media. Such terms, commonly called memes, are often meant to be humorous. Ha ha ha, you might say, upon seeing such a meme or instance of hilarity on the World Wide Web. However, images and video clips can easily be altered or taken out of context. People can even create videos of real people doing or saying things that they never did or said. I don't think that's true. I don't think it's possible to make it sound like people are saying stuff that they didn't actually say.
This is pornography. But first, apparently, Judge Rutherford had hundreds, maybe thousands of slaves, and
Okay, listen. YouTube poops are very funny to me. I like them. They're one of my favorite forms of entertainment. And I think the fun of making edits like this, which obviously existed before YouTube, like even like Conan O'Brien and like they would do shit like that on their show. It's always been a thing, splicing clips together and making it sound like a thing they didn't say. I think the fun of that genre is that it's very obviously spliced. Like seeing the edits is what makes it funny. And there are some people who try to do like AI YouTube poops, and I don't think they're as funny because once it becomes too real where you can't tell, it's not funny anymore. Does that make sense? I guess that's just some copium so that people don't think I'm spreading misinformation. I would argue I'm always pretty clear to delineate when something is real or not. Now, this is pretty impressive. Watchtower cites a source, Axios Media. Now, they don't link to the actual Axios Media article. Most of the misinformation researchers encounter on social platforms feature media that manipulates context like memes. And that's true. But what, like the public seeing this website don't realize, like if they just see jw.org on a JW literature cart and decide to go to this website, like they're not realizing that this article is really just an excuse for Jehovah's Witnesses to ignore critical information about their own group and, you know, reporting from journalists at websites like Axios, perhaps. If there's a negative article, an entire article that is sourced, written by a professional journalist on Axios.com, and it's about Jehovah's Witnesses and the real crimes certain people have committed, well, Jehovah's Witnesses will be like, that's just misinformation. I like this question, though. Ask yourself, is the content legitimate news or just a meme? Well, what do you do if you decide that the content is legitimate news? Like that Atlantic article about the database of child molesters that Jehovah's Witnesses have. You know, people who have been disfellowshipped or reproved or not because of CSA. That was legitimate news from a good source. And it, quoted people and had documents. Okay. These are just things to keep in mind, I think. Evaluate the source and content. Now, the Bible is a source of content that was written thousands of years ago, but you should consult that first, even though nobody who wrote it had any idea that something called a meme would ever exist. I know, it's really gross. It's really gross that they are manipulating context to make an article about manipulating context. Keep asking yourself the question until you decide it's a meme. I think is exactly what they want. Like they want to give witnesses plausible deniability. To be like, if anytime you see anything, it's either a meme or it was taken out of context or it's fake news or their sources were wrong. But the one thing that we know for sure is that no negative information about us is true ever. There's never any legitimate source of criticism about Jehovah's Witnesses. A thing that cults would never say. A cult would never do that. Before believing or forwarding a story, they're very worried about witnesses forwarding stories. Remember that Garrett Loesch clip that I play all the time where he's like, if I see a clip, should I spread it? Should I spread the clip to my friends? That's what he sounds like. Note for note. So before believing or forwarding a story, even one that is popular or repeated in the news, verify that it is true. How? How? How is the Watchtower Bible and Tract Society, who prints such publications as What Does the Bible Really Teach? And You Can Live Forever on a Paradise Earth. What do they say about how to determine whether a source is true? Evaluate the reliability of the source. News media companies and other organizations may slant a story because of their commercial or political bias. Compare what you see in one news outlet with other sources. At times, friends may inadvertently pass on misinformation through email messages or social media posts. This article was clearly written by a 78-year-old. Therefore, do not trust a news item unless you can check the original source. Like how far are you supposed to go there? Like if I read reporting in The Intercept or something, like at what point do I have to go and then personally talk to their sources too? When Ray Franz was alive, I know that I exchanged some messages actually with an ex-JW who had a family who woke up and they were old enough to meet Ray Franz when he was alive. And Ray Franz has talked about this, that there were people who actually went to see him or like called him or wrote him to be like, hey, is this stuff true? Like witnesses are they will apply a level of criticism towards anything that is critical of them that they would never apply to anything they read about the Catholic Church, for example. Man. The issue, of course, is like, okay, the source of the Watchtower Bible and Tract Society of jw.org. Okay, well, this website has creationist bullshit on it. It has homophobic propaganda on it. It has articles that are trying to slant a story to fit their biases. They're not going to cite reliable data in their articles on homosexuality, right? They're not quoting what the UN or what Axios is saying about evolution. They're spewing religious evangelical creationist nonsense. I bit my tongue while I was talking. I'm sorry. Ask yourself this, you son of a bitch. Oh, wait, I jumped ahead. All right. Make sure that the content is current and accurate. They like that, is current, because Jehovah's Witnesses are like, okay, I know that we said like 10 years ago that Black people were infected by a curse and that's why their skin's that way. But that is not current. Just because we used to spew racist lies doesn't mean that you shouldn't trust us anymore. We just used to lie about stuff. Now we don't. Trust us. Don't double check anything we're saying ever. Look for dates. like 607 maybe. Verifiable facts, like that humankind is only 6,000 years old. And strong evidence, like what Stephen Letts says on a camera to support what is being said. Be especially cautious if complex information seems to be oversimplified, or if the report is designed to evoke an emotional reaction. God damn it. Oversimplified and designed to evoke an emotional reaction is the business model of Jehovah's Witnesses. Yes, the curse of Ham. That is exactly what I was thinking. Ay, papi. I can't believe it. I can't fucking believe how brazen this is. I hadn't actually read this. I only ever saw this shit, this funny picture. You know, when I see stuff that catches my eye now, I just throw it in a little folder to maybe talk about on a stream, because this is the one context where I just allow my time to be used up reading a bunch of Watchtower stuff. I try not to consume too much of it when I'm not on the clock. I'm not like making a video about something specifically. We'll talk about that later. We'll talk about what it means to move on, maybe, or some shit. I don't know. Okay, so they just spewed some lies that were annoying. And what were they saying about the fucking UN or something? Fact checking is now. Sorry. Fact checking now is probably becoming as important as hand washing. A senior food safety and nutrition officer at the UN. Okay, great. So when witnesses see a fact in the publications, surely they will check this fact as much as they do wash their hands, right? I'm sure witnesses will apply this principle and not understand this propaganda article to be a dog whistle to deny reality for Jehovah's Witnesses. Ask yourself, does this news report blur the line between fact and opinion or present only one side of the story? When have Jehovah's Witnesses ever presented the other side of any story, by the way? When have they ever presented, like, now, to be fair, that kid did actually die because they didn't accept the blood transfusion. And if they got one, they might have lived. No, they never tell that story. They're like, no, you can never know for sure if they wouldn't have died. Be guided by facts, not personal preferences. I think a lot of religious people would prefer that creationism be true, because then that would mean that their religion is true. But the fact is that they're wrong is the issue. Great Bible verse. What the Bible says, whoever trusts in his own heart is stupid. Sometimes the Bible is just kind of smarmy and mean. Takes one to know one. You know what I'm saying? We tend to trust information that confirms what we want to believe. And internet companies often customize our news and social media feeds to offer us information based on our interests and browsing history. However, what we like to hear is not always what we need to hear. They're so fucking proud of themselves for citing their sources. Like, they are gussying up this article in a way that they don't with other things that they do. Like, they're never going to, like, cite newspaper sources and social psychologists by name in any other article. But because they feel like they have some kind of high ground, that they didn't get wrapped up in COVID conspiracies, that gives them carte blanche to, I don't know, pretend like they never said anything wrong in their lives. I hate it. This is making me upset, actually. Okay. So they quote Peter Ditto, social psychologist. I wonder if social psychologists have anything to say about cults. This is still here from when I did my fucking video, by the way. Alexandra Stein is a social psychologist. They don't quote her on the Jehovah's Witness official website, I notice. People are capable of being thoughtful and rational, but our wishes, hopes, fears, and motivations often tip the scales to make us more likely to accept something as true if it supports what we want to believe. Yeah, I agree, Peter Ditto. Ditto. I'll bet he's never heard that one before. Ask yourself, do I trust this information just because it is what I want to believe? Now, here's what I think happens when witnesses read this stuff. Just maybe this is just what happened to me, and I'm projecting, but like, okay. When I would see stuff like this, like the frequently asked questions article, like, are we a cult? Are Jehovah's Witnesses a cult? What I would think as a witness was they wouldn't be doing this article, they wouldn't put this on the website if they had anything to hide. Because they are addressing this complaint, that means that they are saying that it's not true. Now, they're not. They're talking about other stuff and just hoping that you don't apply this principle to them. But it works until it eventually didn't for me. But, it took a lot of different variables to get there. I think that's what I was talking about in that deflation article I did. Like this kind of like if you're a witness who's starting to kind of fill up with some doubts, you read this and there's sources cited and it's very clearly about misinformation as a thing that witnesses don't do. And it deflates it in your head. You're like, well, they wouldn't make an article this clear cut about misinformation if they had anything to hide. So I don't need to check. I don't need to double check. That's what would go through my head, I think. Stop the spread of misinformation. Stop the steal. Speaking of conspiracy theories. Okay. The Bible says you must not spread a report that is not true. From the book of Exodus, a book that is just only a lie about a thing that never happened. The Exodus didn't happen historically. So Exodus is just a fake story. But okay. Good source on not spreading reports that aren't true. Remember that the information you share with others has the power to affect their thoughts and actions. I did forget that. I always forget that. Even if you unintentionally pass on wrong information, the consequences can be harmful. Ay. The number one rule is to slow down, pause, and ask yourself, am I sure enough about this that I should share it? If everybody did that, we'd see a dramatic reduction of misinformation online. I'm annoyed. I think this annoys me so much because, like, I read a lot of stuff about this. I read a lot of stuff about misinformation because it freaks me out. This is something, obviously, when you've been in a cult, I think we're extra freaked out by the idea of misinformation because we were tricked for a long time. And so now I find myself being really hesitant to share articles. I read a lot more sources on stuff from a variety of different places. This is not a brag, unless it felt like one and it makes you like me more, in which case it was like and subscribe. No, I don't know. So it's bullshit. This fucking sucks. Am I sharing this information because I know it is true? For example, the resurrection of Bible characters that we'll get to teach with a whiteboard in a paradise earth in a few years from now, when that happens. I spread that because I know that's true. That's a fact. The truth about conspiracy theories is a thing that you can learn on the altworldlychannel.com. That's not a website. Don't go to that. Is this different than the conspiracy theory article? No, it's okay. It just links to the bottom of the page. All right. Shauna Bowes, a research psychologist. I have an idea. Let's email Shauna Bowes. I'm going to right now just make a email draft to myself to remember to do that because they're fucking quoting people. I mean, how does Peter Ditto feel about the fact that Watchtower is citing him in their article about misinformation? A social psychologist. I'm assuming that they very specifically aren't quoting people like Alexandra Stein and Stephen Hassan because they're like Yana Lalick. They didn't use those people who famously write books about cults. Okay, it was Shauna Bowes and Peter Ditto. I'm just making a note for myself so I can try and look up their information and do that thing where you're like, hey, this website commented, used your quote, and they're full of shit. How do you feel about that, idiot? That's how I send my emails. You know how you talk to reporters? No need to fact check Massimo Intravene. I should have sent this in British. Oh, hang on a second. This is the governor. No need to fact check Massimo Intravene. I should have sent this in British pounds just to make you feel guilty. It's true. Does Shauna Bowles even exist? Oh, that's a really good question. Oh my God. If you switch around the letters, it spells Stephen Lett. Oh my God. All right. But Shauna Bowes says conspiracy theories are playing a bigger role in people's thinking and behavior, possibly than ever. Yeah, no shit. I did research on that Watchtower for video that I made. Here's what you need to know. I'm sure this website, which teaches that Armageddon is coming soon based on numbers they found in the Old Testament, they are the number one source of combating conspiracy theories, for sure. What is a conspiracy theory? A conspiracy theory is a claim that sinister and powerful groups have secretly plotted to cause a significant or tragic event. That's true. I think that's a decent definition of conspiracy theories. I'm trying to see what their angle is in using this definition, because they're thinking very carefully with their wording in this. Conspiracy theory is a claim that sinister and powerful groups have secretly plotted to cause a significant or tragic event. I mean, I think that's probably true. That seems all right. The one thing that's a little bit ironic for Jehovah's Witnesses, it's a little bit as Atlantis Morissetti about Jehovah's Witnesses, is that they think that very soon a thing called the Great Tribulation will begin, where a bunch of sinister and powerful groups will secretly plot against Jehovah's Witnesses to like round them up for some reason, because they outlawed religion, but witnesses are just so brave that they can't stop preaching. Can't stop, won't stop. Why are they dangerous? Conspiracy theories can undermine trust in legitimate sources of information. Fuck them. I fucking hate this website. And some can cause people to reject health or safety advice. Such theories can promote prejudice and violence against the group thought to be involved in the conspiracy. Reading this is like cognitive dissonance. I feel like I'm going insane. If this article was on Infowars.com, like that's almost how outrageous this is. Sorry, I think I'm doing the thing where I clank my mouse. And it's because my fucking nice mouse ran out of batteries and I don't have AA batteries in the house. That's not important. I mean, this is true, but you know what else can undermine trust in legitimate sources of information is Stephen Lett specifically. As a matter of fact, I wonder if I can play. I pulled a clip earlier for this edit that I made, where he was going on an an anti-apostate rant. What video was it? We can look at it, but they do the same thing. They're like, Satan is in control of the world, and his number one enemy is Jehovah's Witnesses. Therefore, Satan uses the world as his puppets. Even they might be unaware of this, wittingly or otherwise, he said. He uses them as puppets and uses them to act as his agents. Agents of Satan is what he calls journalists and legitimate sources of information that reports on fucking crimes done to children. Evil. This is what evil looks. The banality of evil is a paragraph on jw.org saying that conspiracy theories undermine trust in legitimate sources of information. Jesus. Why are they so popular? I'm just composing myself. Conspiracy theories increase in popularity during periods of widespread anxiety, uncertainty, or hardship, states Encyclopedia Britannica, such as during wars and economic depressions and in the aftermath of natural disasters like tsunamis, earthquakes, and pandemics. That is true. It's true. At such unsettling times, people accept conspiracy theories because these theories validate what they believe or help them to understand why bad things happen. That is not a great explanation. The thing that they quoted directly from Encyclopedia Britannica, accurate. I agree. Encyclopedia Britannica. I don't agree quite with this. How did they put it earlier? Oversimplified to get an emotional reaction. In this case, I think they oversimplified it to get around an emotional reaction from Jehovah's Witnesses, one that would tell them, uh-oh, am I being lied to? Because it's not really because they validate what they believe or help them to understand why bad things happen. It's because we like simple explanations to complex problems. Like, the world is complex. We like, on an evolutionary basis, we like to find patterns, and sometimes we see them where they don't actually exist. And the way they're trying to not word it super clearly, because this is what Jehovah's Witnesses offer, right? They offer an all-encompassing theory of everything that takes all of world history. And I'm not talking like world history like ancient Mesopotamia. I'm talking about like the foundation of the planet Earth to now. And you can contextualize it with this phrase, which is universal sovereignty. That's what their conspiracy theory is. I need to legitimately get an Uno card that I can hold up to the screen. I think we have Uno in the other room. Can I show my mom that Jehovah isn't God's name? You can show her the article that's on jw.org, or I mean, it's on wol.jw.org. I quote it. I'm not saying this as a plug, just it would be an easy place to find it. But in the video I did on why Jehovah's Witnesses have their own Bible, I cite an article that they did about the divine name. And Watchtower in this article cites Bible scholars that explain in detail why Jehovah is not an accurate rendering of the divine name. And then they just don't address it. So I would definitely send that article because it's quite interesting. It's funny because debunking conspiracy theories helped me wake up. So I genuinely wonder what I would have thought of this article. Yeah, I think this is why I'm getting upset, is because I'm like, yeah, I think this might have worked on me. Nah. Because this was my thing too, like learning more about especially like flat earthers and QAnon and anti-vax stuff. Honestly, that was instrumental in my waking up process. I'm going to star this comment so I can come back to it because it has to do with one of my rants I was planning on getting to later. I think here's the sad thing. I think that this is them at peak self-awareness. I think articles like this on misinformation that are very skillfully designed to assuage Jehovah's Witnesses of like, hey, don't worry. We're not doing this stuff. Look how thoroughly researched this article was. They very rarely do this anymore. Like, their Watchtower and Awake magazines don't even quote people. They'll be like, one baby said once that and they don't even say who the baby was. They're always quoting babies because they're written for babies. JW's literally moved to simplified explanations of their teachings in order to elicit emotional responses and reduce critical thinking. Yeah, the way that David Splane said it in that talk where he's like, we're moving away from types and antitypes, right? But then they never actually did. They just still believe all the things that they want to believe that are types and antitypes. But one of the things he said was that people are more motivated by practical application and things that touch their hearts and are comforting. So this is a very conscious decision that they've made. And that's why I think that this article is kind of peak self-awareness for them. They made sure that in this article, they cite their sources. Whereas, I mean, let's see. They probably do the same shit in this Can You Trust the News Media? Yeah, they cite a Gallup poll. But look at the rest of this. A few years ago, for example, a reporter in Japan. Do they cite this reporter in Japan? No. They do cite a book called Media Bias. Generally speaking, it's much more general, you know? Numbers, too, can easily trip up a journalist who, in the scramble to meet a deadline, might easily type 10,000 instead of 100,000. Source? What are you talking about? Where did you get that from? How do you know that? Is that just like what they reckon is happening? I think that actually is probably true. I mean, I think if you obviously mainstream, like trusted legacy media, to use a buzzword, are better about it, but you can find tons of typos and grammatical mistakes in like breaking news stories that are clearly trying to reach a deadline. Why am I like defending Watchtower's point here? Anyway, this sucked. I hated this. I hated reading this. It was terrible. Okay, before we get into the next shit that we're going to talk about, where are we landing, by the way, on like video versus article shit? Actually, I think the meeting one has an article. Okay, cool. I just wanted to check and make sure that the Sunday service stream is working, like on the Sunday service channel, and it is. I'm just going to paste this link in chat. Okay. But I remember being in school, and when we had to do research papers, I remember being taught a little bit of like, here's how you check a claim. Like, journalists it's best to cite 3 sources of information. Like, I remember being taught a little bit about it, but I don't know. I don't know what they're teaching these kids these days in schools these days. All right. 10 people logged off the second I said that. Let's share this tab instead. The midweek meeting featured this treasure, King David just clenching out a shit. Is the wind picking up in the microphone? I've got the window open because it's really nice out, but it's really windy. So let me know if I'm getting a bunch of background noises. Okay, so let's talk about this. Teenagers who maintain moral integrity. Teenagers who maintain moral integrity. Couldn't be me. I know they're not talking about me. Hey, Jexit Podcast was out celebrating his birthday. And by the way, Jexit Podcast has a podcast, Jexit 2020, the YouTube channel, friend of the channel. Riley's been on a couple times. Has a podcast. Be sure to check it out. We need to get Riley back on the show and hear those dulcet tones. He has a great reading voice. He's got a really good like what, how do you put it, like just a generic witness reading impression. That's very good. I've had him read a couple of things for me in videos because it just sounds like it's from a publication. Okay, so I find this kind of shit deeply creepy. This is one of the things that also woke me up, was when I started seeing the videos aimed at young people. It really started to bother me because this shift towards really highly produced video content happened in 2014. That's when JW Broadcasting started. And so when they started doing these video demonstrations, which were certainly more professional than the stage demonstrations that you do at assemblies, which are very cringy and scripted by a 78-year-old in the writing department at Watchtower headquarters. Something about the slickness of the production kind of bothered me. Like, I remember even thinking, this is propaganda, maybe? I don't think I thought it exactly like that. That's right. State Barbie was the diversity hire on the Beard Chat. What an iconic episode. That was so fun. Remember beards, everyone? Their videos aimed at kids really bothered me because I remember having these mental battles in my head. Every interaction that you have with not even the opposite sex, the sex that you're attracted to, which for me, It's like everybody. So any interaction that I had with a person who was alive and of age was like, you're thinking this is a battle for my faith. I mustn't do anything to flirt or give them the impression that I want to date, because you're told that just worldly people will come up to you and solicit you for sex sometimes. And that didn't happen to me. Should I do a little sidebar? No. Yeah, sure. Why not? Okay, so I've always wanted to do stand-up comedy because I've always loved it and I've always been obsessed with it. And so I've been trying to work on some material. It's true. The rumors that I've started right now are true. I've got a couple like XJW bits that I want to do, but the one that I think would actually be funny, would make sense, is about how you are taught that people are just going to come up to you and solicit you for sex. And that's just how I live my life, thinking that that was going to happen. So let's not talk about that cringy shit that I just talked about. And let's talk about my teen life. How's your teen life going, everyone? Christian youths must fight to maintain moral integrity. They struggle. No, I think we should do the news voice. I think we should do the newsman's voice. Christian youths must fight to maintain moral integrity. They struggle against their imperfect flesh and fight to maintain clean during the bloom of youth, a time when strong sexual feelings can distort a young person's judgment. They must also resist relentless pressure from others to engage in sex, heterosexual and homosexual. We are proud of those who continue to fight. Sorry? It's just in to maintain their integrity. Okay. So they did it. They did the thing I was talking about. They have to resist relentless pressure from others to engage in sex. Like, you're just being grabbed, like, fuck me, please. It's insane. That's not a thing that ever happened to me. I did have a crush of mine in high school did say that she wanted to see my dick one time. That did happen to me. Is that a little personal for a stream? I didn't, because I was a Jehovah's Witness and I was too scared. I didn't show her. Now, these are just things I gotta live knowing that I never did that. What would she have thought? What would the reviews have been like? We'll never really know. But then there's a video, and oh shit, it's not gonna let me do it. I thought this would be fun to type in the answers. They do this with the Watchtowers now too. Check this out. And you can do it on the Watchtower. What the goddamn hell? I think it's not letting me do it because of the StreamYard thing that's going on. Because I was messing with this. You can type in the box, and I thought it'd be funny if we did some kind of like Mad Libs bullshit, suggesting funny answers to the questions. Maybe it works on the PDF version, or maybe it would not be that funny or fun. I don't know. Does that sound like a fun thing to do? Hey, listen, I'm ripped because of all the lesbians I've had to fight off me. I know, right? That's how I knew I was bi, is I was constantly being solicited for sex by my fellow gays. This sounds like, are you one of our British friends? I hope you don't get annoyed by my jokes about British people, because right-ho is generally not something said in America. Eat a bean. That would be terrifying. That would result in a meow meow beans from community-esque deterioration of society. If you could, if there was like a rate my professor for reviewing other people's sexual performance, I think it would be the apocalypse. Then I would join Jehovah's Witnesses again. Not because I'm worried about it. I'm assuming married people are exempt. It'd be kind of fucked up to rate your spouse on there. Play the video. My teen life. How can I fight the pressure to have premarital sex? Oh, this will be good. This will be good for my fucking stand-up material. God. Now I wish I wouldn't have said this. Oh, I know we've watched this on the channel before, but it might have been in a video that is unlisted or something. I don't know. It's been long enough. Who doesn't want to listen to teenagers talk about not having premarital sex? It's creepy. It's creepy, the videos that you just have to watch. And if you're a child at the meeting, you just have to watch this. Your little 3-year-old has to watch a video where like teenagers talk about not masturbating or looking at porn. Good God. Okay. Do you want to know a legitimate thing for fun? Actually, it's not fun at all. So I'm not going to highlight this comment because I don't want to make anybody self-conscious, but somebody mentioned getting unsolicited dick pics. I thought in my foolish Jehovah's Witness brain that I might get some flirty messages from time to time, which I do, I guess. But I had a friend who is a guy who made videos, doesn't anymore. He's like, yeah, I've had women like send me pictures of their boobs. And I was like, maybe I'll get some of those booby pics. Wouldn't that be great, honey? But no, the only people who are like inappropriate are dudes still. What's going on with dudes? What's going on with men? They're not okay. I'm not really that okay, but I'm more okay than that. I have some advice for men, okay? And I try not to do this. Don't ever take a picture of your penis for any reason. Don't go on the record with that shit. Why would you do that?
Well, every day.
The epic music for this, like, bow, bow, never gonna know. Bow, bow. Let's hear it again.
Well, every day in high school, my classmates would talk about sex.
They would just talk.
What happened? What's going on with his voice? What kind of accent is this? I gotta turn this the fuck up.
Well, every day in high school, my classmates would talk about sex.
They would just talk about, their boyfriends and girlfriends, what they did with them, over the weekend, what they're going to do.
They, of course, knew that I was one of Jehovah's Witnesses.
Let's see. This weekend, I did a sucky and a licky and a squeezy. And what did you do this weekend? Did you do any lickies or suckies? I don't know how to talk about sex as an adult. I can't do it. It's cringe. I don't think I want people thinking of me as a sexual creature. It makes me uncomfortable. Don't do it. I don't like using real sex words people use. That might be a result of trauma. I don't know. But I genuinely don't like talking about it on the channel or for hundreds of pages in a memoir. Memoir? I was trying to make a Lloyd Evans joke. Sorry, low-hanging fruit.
And that I wouldn't engage in premarital sex, but that did not stop them from pushing.
Guys would.
And there's some obvious jokes we could make that we will not make about this video.
Invade my personal space. Sometimes they would even try to, grab or touch me.
One day, a girl in class, she asked me to touch her inappropriately. Of course, I rejected her.
What was this conversation? This is the problem with these videos. You can't ask follow-up questions. You can't be like, explain immediately what this solicitation was. Hi, what was this guy's name? Because they said at the beginning, right? This is Corey. Hey, Corey, grab my boob. Come here. Is that really what happens? That's really a thing that happened to this person in real life? I absolutely believe that she was pestered by, creepy, handsy guys in her high school. I don't know if I believe that many teenage girls are going up to boys being like, hey, grab my butt.
One day, a girl in class, she asked me to touch her inappropriately. Of course, I rejected her, but she even resorted to calling me names.
Touch me inappropriately. Because that's what he said. He said, she asked me to touch her inappropriately. That does feel like a trap. I feel like if somebody comes up to you and says, hey, touch me inappropriately, they're setting you up to fail. Don't do it.
Of course, I rejected her, but she even resorted to calling me names. She called me lame, and she said that I must be gay.
It seemed to be a game.
I have so many questions about this. This Seinfeld episode is terrible. I know. It sounds like I'm doing like fucking shitty stand-up over it. This is just how I talk. I'm sorry. No, ma'am, touching your genitals is against my religion. I think it's also that he kind of has a southern accent that's making it a little funny. Isn't this the girl who was literally sexually harassed and needs therapy to report it, but is written off as a normal thing? Yeah. They're also like, I don't love the way that just like when she talks about men, they just show a shark swimming towards the camera. And when he talks about women, they show like these women like standing over, like watching him, like, you little gay. I don't know. But like, if she was legitimately like being touched by boys in school, obviously she should talk to a teacher about that, right? I remember a girl sat on my lap in math class who was super flirty with me, and I had a huge crush on, by the way. Absolutely wanted to date this person, and she was being flirty with me and like sat on my lap in class, like before class, not during class. That the teacher would have noticed. But I like said something to the teacher. I was like, I felt a little harassed by this person. Can I not sit next to her anymore? And it was obviously it was totally my own self-consciousness. It makes like Jehovah's Witnesses make men into incels. First of all, you just are because you don't want to be celibate, but involuntarily you are. So you're literally involuntarily celibate, but also it teaches men that women are harlots who want to entrap you and just, I don't know, like they just want to trick you into fucking them. That's what they teach men. Women are like, and then women are obviously like they're supposed to brag about, like on one hand they have to be these meek, weaker vessels who are completely subservient, but on the other hand they also present men as like total 100% sexual predators. I don't know, I just think it's very bad all around. Both sides. That's my commentary on this. Both sides are wrong.
Into them to try to break me and try to get me to do things.
It legitimately wasn't
the fact that I wouldn't give in. They thought it was fun or funny.
It got to the point where this became very physical. I had two classmates behind me that were pushing me. One classmate on each side of me, grabbing my arms and pushing me, trying to make me touch her.
Okay, I'm not laughing at him, but this scenario, bullying is never okay. And hopefully everybody involved in this was disciplined to the fullest extent of the law of the school district. But what I'm hearing is that there were people behind him grabbing his hands to make him grab boobs, right? What else would that mean? And his face was going like this the whole time, like, no, stop, please. No, but this is fucked up, because maybe he actually is gay. That is super fucked up. Kids are mean, like, no question about it. It's hard to be a Jehovah's Witness kid. I never want to be making fun of these kids in the video. That's why I don't do YouTube poops of these, even though they're gold. I watched one yesterday. I was pulling clips for a video, and oh my god, I could see the fucking Matrix. I could see the meme Matrix. But it's like, it's kind of fucked up to make fun of these teenagers because they're in a cult. They're victims of this cult. They don't want to be Jehovah's Witnesses. I know they think they do, but they don't actually. Like, I hate to tell people this, but it actually is just better to not be in a cult.
Point where this became very physical. I had two classmates behind me that were pushing me. One classmate on each side of me, grabbing my arms and pushing me, trying to make me touch her. And I knew that it was time to get out of there.
Being one of Jehovah's Witnesses, I was already very different in school, but I was also very shy. So at times I wanted to fit in with the crowd so I wouldn't have that attention on me.
I'm not trying to do like body language expert shit, but she seems shy in this video too. Like, she seems uncomfortable talking, a little nervous. How could you not be, by the way? I got to be brag. I got to be interviewed on a couple assemblies, which was a mistake on God's part because I was, I wasn't letting girls sit on my lap for too long, but I was fucking like, I wasn't fucking. That was the problem. I was jerking it on the regs. I would sneak a peek at some prawn and obviously just feel like absolute dog shit about it and hate myself and self-harm to try and get myself not to do it. But then you have a good run for a week and you're interviewed on an assembly and you just hope that you're not picked for the assembly where you have to talk about sex or something. And I totally was interviewed on. I'm not ready to talk about that. That's too cringe for me to even contemplate. But I was interviewed in a thing like this about like overcoming temptation from somebody on an assembly. And God, I hate it. I hate thinking about it. It makes me sad to think about. That was a sad person that I was.
Me. But I knew that this would displease Jehovah if I, went with the crowd and did what the other kids were doing.
Well, I did say a quick silent prayer to Jehovah. I said, Jehovah, just please help. I immediately in my mind thought of Joseph. He was able to free himself from Potiphar's wife, but he was able to get away because of his resolve to please Jehovah. And that's exactly what I knew I needed to do. And I did just that. I ran right out of the classroom.
What do people do who are bullied, but they're not Jehovah's Witnesses? Has anybody ever done research into this? I just have never thought about it, but maybe there are children who aren't Jehovah's Witnesses who are bullied and cope with it in different ways. I don't know. Maybe you don't need to be a Jehovah's Witness to deal with bullies at school.
Personal study was very important. And this made Jehovah really real to me. The more real he was to me, the more I didn't want to displease him. And
I find it so crazy that they use this language because it seems like it blows the whole thing wide open. Like it made Jehovah real to me. Like it made this thing that isn't real sound like it was. And the more I convinced myself that Jehovah was real, the less I wanted to displease him. It's like, what you don't have to worry about is displeasing your real dad who really lives at home and will yell at you to your face like that. Why can't God just be a real guy who you can see and talk to? On the phone even. I'm not saying he has to be there all the time 24/7, but sometimes would be great.
Hurt him. Having that relationship with him and having that trust in him really helped me get through those situations of wanting to fit in and go with the crowd.
Rejecting that girl was not easy, but I did know that it was the right thing to do. Shortly before...
Yeah, it wasn't easy because they held your hands towards her boobs like they were getting sucked toward it like a tractor beam.
This incident, my grandmother actually prepared me. She would prepare Watchtower articles for me.
You can see he's sweating, this poor guy. This sucks. This isn't fair. And they did him dirty in post. They could have cleaned that up a little bit.
They talked about how to deal with temptation. Although those talks with her were super duper awkward, if I'm being honest, they really helped me to stay spiritually strong and to resist the temptation.
My parents always told me to use far-sighted wisdom. Think about how that action would affect me in the future, affect my relationship with Jehovah, with my friends and my family. That definitely went through my head.
Oh, now they're a little vague. They're like, think about what would happen. Well, what Jehovah's Witnesses believe would happen is that this girl would die. She'd be killed in Armageddon. She'd be like set ablaze by a fireball with all the other harlots. That's what she's worried about. Or she would get, at the very least, disfellowshipped and shunned. So fear is what motivated her to live an abnormal teenage life. Good. That's probably good.
During that time, all you need to do is trust in Jehovah, because if you trust in him, then everything is going to be okay.
The publication that really helped me the most was the Young People Ask book, Volume 2, Chapter 5, Why Stay a Virgin. This book was really a lifesaver for me. Reading about how some of my peers all around the world are dealing with the exact same temptation really gave me a sense of comfort and helped me to feel that
Okay, Mooney, I'm here for this. I was Mooney says, okay, but I was unpopular as a kid and no one ever offered me sex or drugs. So where's the article for people who aren't getting any? See, this is a totally different young people ask article, like video series needs to happen, which is like, what if people don't even bother to bully you because it's like you don't exist? That was my existence for like the first 3 years of being in school. And then my senior year, I like my junior and senior year, I actually had like a friend group that I really fit in with well, and I felt more confident as a person. I got handsome, or handsomer than I was. You know, I grew into my face and nose, and now my nose has gotten out of control. It kept going, and now I'm past my peak. But that was a time in my life when I felt comfortable. But for the 11 years leading up to that, I just felt completely invisible, like a non-person, felt like I didn't matter, that nobody even knew I existed. And that's what bummed me out about being in school. But, but I still had this thought that at some point, some woman was going to solicit me for sex. And then, but that also kind of makes you feel bad. Like, well, wait, does it mean that I'm a bad servant of Jehovah, that Satan isn't even bothering to tempt me? I don't know. I don't even know if I got across my point there. That's me reacting to what I just said. His face, Corey. Hey! Look at that smile.
Reading about how some of my peers all around the world are dealing with the exact same temptation really gave me a sense of comfort and helped me to feel that I was not alone.
Legitimately,
I'm really grateful to Jehovah and the organization for the love that they show to us young ones to help us feel not alone and to help us push through these difficult situations. The Young People Ask book, Volume 2, Chapter 14, How Can I Protect Myself at School? It really encouraged me in school to be firm and to stand my ground to make Jehovah happy.
Well, I'm so thankful to Jehovah for recalling scriptures like 1 Corinthians chapter 6, verse 18, which says, flee from sexual immorality. And I'm happy to say that I was able to do just that. But really what makes me the happiest is
I sprinted as fast as I could out of the school. I'm just imagining, like, what's the girl's perspective on all this? Like, I don't know. I just asked a guy if he could give me a handshake, and he's fucking sprinted out of the school crying. No, I don't know. Kids are mean. I trust victims. I trust what this guy is saying.
Is knowing that I made Jehovah happy, and there is no greater feeling than that.
That's a feeling that does not last when you realize that Jehovah is not a real guy, by the way. When you realize that you were trying to make a guy who doesn't exist happy, that feels bad. That feels really not great. Wait, I want to go back to this article. What kind of questions are they asking? The least subtle video ever made. What peer pressure did Corey and Cameron face? What helped them to maintain their integrity? What Bible principles can help you face similar situations? Ironically, these are actually the kinds of questions that are probably too dumb for a test that you would take in high school. These are like what you would get in middle school. They make you watch The Music Man or something, and then they're like, what did Harold Hill want to sell to the kids? Trombones and trumpets and stuff. Where do you post the? I don't post them anywhere. I need to. Well, I'm starting to try and post them on TikTok. I'll probably post. I want to mess with the one I threw together for the beginning of this stream. When I get my shit together, I want to upload them all to another channel. But I got a lot going on in my life. Well, I wasn't JW husband handsome either. That's the problem. That's the problem. I was like considered a good witness. I was considered like a safe bet to marry, but there were handsomer dudes who were, you risk it for that biscuit. Like, yeah, they go out in service once every 3 months, but look how hot he is. I'll marry that dude. Also, I don't think that's true. I think that we're all so attractive. And by the way, one of my favorite things that always legitimately brings me joy is seeing in like Facebook groups and on the subreddit before and after pictures of people in the cult and then people out of the cult. So the next video that I'm putting out, which I'm putting a lot of effort into, which has never paid off, but maybe this time, I am including a lot of pictures of myself as a witness because I don't think I really have. I think I've only shown like one picture of myself as a witness ever in a video, in my like life story video. But I had a few on Facebook. I almost showed one, but I was like, oh, I gotta blur it out. I blurred it out. What's the ethics on this? What's the ethics on showing a picture of like me as a 19-year-old or whatever, and there's other 19-year-old people who now, obviously, it's over 10 years later. I don't know. Because I was thinking I could just show some right now. It is kind of fun. Shit. The question is, where did I put those pictures? I know where I can find them. All right. So quick break. And maybe I'll go on a rant. I'll do one of the 2 rants that I had planned. I have a planned subject as a rant. But no, the XJW glow up is so real. I've never seen anybody who was like, wow, real downgrade after you left the witnesses. You look like absolute garbage now. That's just like literally never happened. Everybody looks so much happier. And I think there's something with the eyes. I don't know if there's any research on this, but like everybody knows what I'm talking about. We saw it in both of these kids. I think you just see this kind of glazed over look that cult victims have. I felt it really strongly. I think the last cult documentary I watched was probably that Mother God one, and just a cult that still is kind of going in some way. And so all the interviews with the cult victims, you can see that glaze over their eyes. It's crazy. Hey, thank you, Cubone, for the donation. And don't forget, by the way, if you're not a channel member, you can become a member. And I've got a pretty decent amount of exclusive videos on there that I've accumulated over the years, and especially over this last year. Okay, I'm going to try and find a video. No, what the fuck am I trying to say? I need to find a picture. I want to find a couple pictures that I can show off of JW Jake. So I'm going to play what we always play when it's time for me to have an awkward silence on the show. And that is Seth Hyatt's awkward silence supercut.
Have you ever been confronted by a bad report, a false report about Jehovah's people? Angry? Did God really say that?
Okay, I found what I was looking for. All right, so Jehovah's PP. yes, everybody still say happy birthday to Riley. And everyone knows that the best way to say happy birthday to him is to become a channel member. Okay, so let's look at least one picture. Shit. How the hell do I have this set up here? All right. Does this show up? Okay, so this is me on stage in the drama at the 2014 International Convention. Our family was in the drama. I had like I had like 2 lines in a service group. You can see me there. Jake looks like Vosh. I don't know how to feel about that. All right, so this is me, obviously. This is a really weird time. So this drama, literally nobody remembers it. Nobody remembers it. When I was a witness, and even as an XJW, I'm like, we were in a bunch of dramas. The last one we were in was actually the last live action drama that we ever did. Oh, the venue was Lucas Oil Stadium is it in Indiana? So that's where our international convention was. In 2014, they had international conventions all over the world. So people from other countries, like we had delegates from various countries in Africa and like Poland. Also, Poland was there. They got a courtesy invite. And they wore their native garb, as witnesses like to say. People wore outfits that made them into a racial caricature of themselves for Watchtower's sinister purposes. Not really. It was cool and neat. Oh, nice. I was there with Mooney. What if you're in one of these pictures, Mooney, just like in the background? So this was the last year that they ever did a live action drama. The way dramas used to work, now they just make movies. Watchtower just makes movies. But it used to be you would be on stage at like a local congregation, just a normal local church group would put on a play. You had to make costumes and you would get a script, you would get stage directions, but the audio was pre-recorded by Watchtower because they didn't want anybody messing up their lines or saying some apostate shit on the stage. So you had to lip sync. It was a lip sync drama. So that's what this is. This is us reenacting a service meeting, like a meeting for the ministry. And this person in the back is my aunt, actually. This black woman in the back, not by blood, obviously, by marriage. Okay. Days before, let's say a week before the international convention, the convention overseer comes to our hall along with the entire convention committee to like watch a preview, to watch us preview the drama to make sure that we're not fucking everything up. And apparently we had a couple playing a married JW couple in this drama. The story of the stage play was not jumping to conclusions and not murmuring and spreading rumors. It was like one couple who had some money lent another JW couple who had less money some money. And then the couple who lent the money sees the poor couple buying a big TV out of a Radio Shack or whatever existed back then in 2014, way back when. And then you're like, oh no, they spent the money on material possessions. But it turned out no. An older sister in the congregation gave them money to pick up the TV for them because she's old and can't lift it. And this whole fight could have been stopped if they just communicated. It sucked and it was boring. And they debuted their shitty Jesus drama that they're now remaking. Hollywood remakes are out of control. So anyway, that's me. And so the married couple that we had in our hall playing the wealthy couple, playing the younger couple, they were supposed to, in the drama, be an elder and his wife. But the guy was not an elder in real life. Because that doesn't matter, because it's fake. It's a drama. We're all acting. Like a couple of years before that, we were in a drama about like the aged Apostle John. Well, obviously, none of us are that. None of us lived in the first century. We were acting. But the convention overseer said, no, this guy cannot play an elder because he's not an elder in real life. And so a week before, all months of work, this couple who were looking forward to being on stage at this historic international convention, they got pulled off of it for this completely arbitrary reason. And it really shook everybody's faith. Everybody, like our entire congregation, was really upset about it because it was bullshit. And we all knew it was bullshit. And the elder who was in charge, who I still love to this day, I hope he wakes up someday, he kind of just gave us the pep talk of like, we got to follow the direction. I think they made the wrong call, but this is a test from Jehovah, that kind of bullshit. But anyway, this was actually not a fun convention at all because this was very stressful and kind of sad because our friends who we actually liked weren't able to be in it. And then they got replaced by some backup posers from another hall. All right. This is where we get a little dubious maybe in terms of showing other people's faces. I don't know if this is appropriate, but this is me and a friend of mine and a girl that I dated. And here's the thing that you don't know is that I dated her for a little bit, and her best friend was this really cute girl named Christina. And years later, after this relationship didn't work out, I then married Christina. They weren't best friends by then for a few reasons. But yeah, it's true. That's me at the Nutter Center. Here's me making a dumb face because I don't know how to just smile normally in pictures. I'm probably 19 here based on who my crushes are at the time. The worst colored shirt you've ever seen. Oh, the green one. Yeah, it's pretty bad. It's pretty bad. I know, but it's true. Okay, so yeah, this was quite a crew. It is highlighter green. Holy shit. Okay, so I don't want to show this for too long because these people are all except for one are still witnesses. Here's quite young version of me. I think I'm only probably 14 or 15 in this picture. But this is our assembly hall in London, Ohio. And this is a really cool assembly hall, actually. I wish I had a picture of this, but if you were to go through here, so through here is the dining area. And then to the right, there's this little alcove, and they had a miniature museum, like a miniature Jehovah's Witness museum with the history of the organization. They had these great old like newspapers and pictures. They had like an old phonograph, old publications. And yes, this is the Pyramid Hall because they had a huge like printed off canvas banner that was like Russell's crazy pyramid calculations for the divine plan of the ages. I thought it was so cool. And they took it down, I think, because it obviously looks insane to people who might have just been visiting. You're like, all right, let me try it out. I'll try the Jehovah's Witness assembly. And they see a fucking pyramidology conspiracy theory. And then this is also me at the Nutter Center. This is also me pretty young. But it's a pretty cute picture. Man, I loved that suit. I was so sad when I didn't fit in it anymore. That's just a absolutely shitty, terrible picture of me. Those were like the easiest JW pictures for me to find because they were just on my Facebook. I had a couple others that were just like, I've got a couple others like gatherings with like friends, and there's nothing discernibly witnessy about it unless you're like us and you're in the know. Isn't it fun though? So this is what's been interesting. Like I've been going through these old pictures, not all of them because that would involve like calling my parents, and I don't want to be sad, but I've really tried to think back on like positive experiences and people I know for the book that I'm writing, the novel, because all the characters are witnesses, and it would be fucked up if I didn't treat them as three-dimensional people. But it's easy when you do this all day to just make all witnesses cartoon characters. Jake, you have lovely hair. Thank you. It looks like absolute crazy nonsense today. All right. Are people still in? Are we still in and having a good time? We still got 150 people chilling and hanging out. Sure. Well, let me get into a miniature rant then, maybe. Movingon.org. Let's talk about moving on. So there was just a thing that happened, like in the XJW Reddit that I just noticed, which was like people kind of announcing like, I'm leaving the subreddit. And people do this every now and again, but there was like 3 big ones in a row. And I made like a joke post like, hey, I would just like to announce that I'm not leaving the subreddit. And, you know, I just, not because there's anything wrong with people like announcing that they're moving on, but I got a comment from that I think was nice and well intentioned. I think it's hard to read tone on the internet, but I think it was just like, well, I hope that you do move on from this subreddit someday, Jake, because I hope everybody moves on and no longer posts here or makes XJW YouTube videos. That's not what they said, but that was the implication. And it's just this thing that you hear both witnesses and some XJW say, why don't you just move on? Time to move on. You can't really move on or heal from your indoctrination if you're doing stuff like this, I guess, where we just talk about it. And that shit's always really bothered me. Now, obviously, I'm biased because I have a channel and I make shit that I want people to watch, but I don't know. I think it's pretty obvious from my general approach on the channel that I'm not doing it because I want the videos to be like famous. I do it because I like it. Nobody's making me spend an hour every Sunday making a YouTube poop just for laughs. I do it just because I get a real kick out of it and I find it funny. And the take from certain people seems to be that like the sign of growing and moving on is that you just stop participating in the XJW community, as it were. That like a person who is healed would not be posting on the XJW subreddit or making XJW YouTube videos. I think that this is odd because, first of all, my understanding of this conflict, just the conflict within myself, I guess, was probably put best to me by my therapist talking about grief, right? You know, it is grieving a loss. I lost my entire social network that I had built up my entire life. Those fun friends I had in those pictures we just saw, I don't see those motherfuckers anymore. They don't talk to me, and they wouldn't if I tried. So it is a loss. It's a loss of friendships and a relationship with family. And so you grieve that loss. And a couple years ago now, Christina lost her father. I lost my father-in-law, and it was incredibly traumatic and unexpected. And she's had to deal with grief in a much more literal way. And you don't ever stop caring about the person that you lost. It's always a part of you. Of course it is. No matter what your relationship is with the person, right? And so that's how I feel about Jehovah's Witnesses. Like, this is the thing that shaped the formative years of my life, my entire childhood, my teenage years, the time that I would have been in college with other, generally speaking, college-age people. That was all time when I was a Jehovah's Witness doing weird shit that most people don't do. And to me, I don't want to forget that part of my life or pretend like it doesn't happen. And I also don't want to completely disengage from it. I don't want to like never think about it or never talk about it. I don't want to never talk about anything because I love to talk, as you can tell. I find this to be, if I may, a bit of cope from people, because I have noticed I've done this for I've been awake for like 4 years now. I've done the channel, or maybe more. I've done the channel for almost 4 years, which is crazy. First of all, I feel like I'm just getting started because I feel like I'm just now starting to actually get good at making videos, or at least make stuff that I feel like this seems like a video that somebody would watch on purpose who wasn't a witness. And second of all, because I still have a lot to say. I still think about this stuff all the time, but not all the time. This is not an all-encompassing thing that takes up every waking hour of my day. But I have noticed now that I've been doing this for 4 years, that there are people who have been around for at least 4 years, probably longer, because they were there when I started posting and noticing things on social media. They were still there in the comments saying that all these XJWs need to move on. But apparently they fucking haven't, because they show up in the comments of my videos or on my posts and be like, stop doing this. It's like it's somehow not only like it's problematic or detrimental to me. First of all, it's nobody's fucking business, really, what I want to do with my free time, as long as it's not illegal. I'm talking about making videos, you know. Second of all, I think that I've got a pretty good balance in my life of I don't just do Jehovah's Witness or ex-Jehovah's Witness stuff all the time. Like, yes, to be fair, the book that I'm currently working on is XJW related, but it's a one-off. The last novel I wrote that I've been pitching to like literary agents, and the next thing that I'm going to work on after I finish Not a Cult are not Jehovah's Witness related. And none of the books that I plan on writing are Jehovah's Witness related. I've been scripting some videos for another channel just to examine a piece of pop culture that I love. I think I finally figured out, like, okay, if I'm going to do another channel, I'm going to do it about this because I think I can do it well. I'm not going to say what it is yet until I, release it. But I spend most of my day not interacting with JW stuff at all. But I find it fun and useful and therapeutic. I like engaging with this stuff. And here's why I find it insulting. It goes beyond me just feeling like I have a disagreement. I feel a little insulted by it because you know who they would never say that to is someone like Leah Remini or Mike Rinder, or like famous people who leave cults and become actual activists, advocates, whatever you want to call it. Nobody outside of actual Scientology leaders are like, hey, Leah Remini, shut up about Scientology. They don't do that because she's famous and everybody likes Leah Remini. But I'm obviously not. So people feel like, well, you're just wasting your time. The only people who watch your shit are XJWs, and you're just wasting your time. You should give up. That's what it feels like to me. It's like, fucking give up and stop it. That's kind of what it feels like when I hear people say stuff like that. I kind of don't believe it. And like, I also think that, like grieving, everybody's process is different. Like, if your path out of the group is to just not engage with this shit anymore, well, then I think that's great. I think that's awesome. Like, clearly Donald Glover doesn't care about his Jehovah's Witness shit. Like, he's making music and making TV shows and acting and stuff, and he doesn't bother with it. I wish that he would, actually, because I mean, he's way more famous than Leah Remini, and he would be an amazing XJW advocate. That's a different rant, I suppose. But like, I'm ignoring chat, by the way, so if you're fighting, stop it. And if you're not, continue. So that's kind of my complicated, annoying feelings about it that I thought about just making a small video about, but I'm like, I don't know, that's probably not really worth it. Kendrick Lamar, what the fuck? Did he grow up as a witness? I love Kendrick Lamar. Like all white people. I do. I love Kendrick Lamar. I didn't know that he was actually okay, so nobody's fighting. Good. I think I saw that somebody say that it was their birthday. by the way. Hey, Maria, birthday's tomorrow, 33 and counting. More years of mind freedom. Amazing. The year of our Lord Jesus Christ, by the way, when he got the okay, did not grow up as a witness. Okay, see, well, somebody in chat, we talked about misinformation earlier. That's what's happening. So, you know, I don't know. I guess what I'm saying is I like doing this. And if you don't like that XJWs make videos about it, then fucking leave me alone. I don't care. You know, there are some people who are like, who have a weird take that just making XJW videos like keeps people indoctrinated because they're still thinking about witness stuff. And I just think that's completely insane. It shows a complete lack of understanding of any media literacy, comprehension whatsoever. There are a bajillion atheist channels from people who used to be evangelical Christians who leave, and now all they do, at least once a week, is dunk on some Christianity videos. And I don't see a bunch of atheists like, hey, actually, it'd be better if you moved on. Like, no, they don't do that. So I don't know. Don't say that shit. Like, your journey, I'm not mad at like people announcing that they're leaving a subreddit because everybody's journey is valid, which means so is mine. So be nice, I guess is what I'm saying. And that's the other thing. XJW stuff saved my life. Seriously, knowing I wasn't crazy or alone was invaluable. And yeah, like, I think to me, hello. I showed them some pictures, you know, because I had those Jehovah's Witness pictures of me downloaded. So I showed them on the stream, and one of them had your old buddy. So I got to talk about our Lord. Now, we talked about this in our videos together. Yeah. But people were able to put a face to the name. Who you usurped.
I did usurp.
Usurp.
I did usurp my the role from her.
It's true.
Your girlfriend.
It's true.
You know, the great.
The great.
Coming out on top. So
Christina says the great end up coming out on top. You know what that means. I don't know. Yes, I do. Thank you. Okay, I literally I need a pillow for my back. My wife's amazing. I didn't have one, but there's a roll of toilet paper in here that I was using for tissues because my allergies were bad yesterday. So I was using it. But hey, thank you.
You're welcome.
If anyone wants to know, Aldi toilet paper is so soft. It's like a pillow for your anus hole.
And for your back.
And for your back. Wherever you need to put that roll of toilet paper, whether it's up your bung hole or on your back hole.
Hopefully you don't do any of those things. And hopefully you don't have a back hole.
Amazing. Yeah, like I guess the thing that's tough is also like only you know your own like interiority as a person. Like I know that I'm much happier than I was as a witness, and that I don't like I know that I take breaks when I need to. I don't upload every week. I do a stream every week because this is pretty chill. I'm not putting a lot of forethought into this. I don't know if that's coming through at all. Christina just yelled malice with forethought, which is amazing because that's the joke I was trying to think of, and she did it. Ruby Quinn says hi. Hello. The great Cornelia. Did we all see SNL last night? I haven't checked in with SNL in a while, but I watched the Ryan Gosling episode. It was honestly fantastic. They're on their game. There's some really funny stuff in that episode. Okay, that was one rant. We're doing a long stream today. That's what's happening. That's just what's happening. Okay, what else did I want to get into? Oh shit, I think I know what it is. All right. I'll talk about two more things. I like the chill back half of these streams where none of it matters. Okay, you were just quoting Beavis and Butthead. There is legitimately a very funny sketch involving Beavis and Butthead in SNL. I can't explain why it's involved, but it's pretty great. Oh, I know. You could have seen me on the big screen at Lucas Oil Stadium Hey, thank you. That is true. The other thing I've been trying to think about. Okay, this is a different rant. This is now starting. I've just been thinking about the channel and what the hell I'm doing with my life, because like everything that I've wanted to do is creative or performative in nature. So I'm trying to work on stand up because that's been a dream. And shit, what the fuck was I talking about? I need to like make a note for myself so I know what the hell I'm talking about. What is this rant? This rant is oh yeah, what the channel be. That's what I'm gonna write for myself. What the channel be? Okay. So the other thing is like, I don't want to turn this into like a content mill. That I'm definitely very wary of. And that I do feel a bit more mixed feelings of, in terms of like, it might do more harm than good. I don't fucking know. I don't really care that much, I guess. The content mill thing. I've been trying to think about the future of the channel and creativity and what I want to do. And the thing that I think I've figured out from just because I'm writing a novel and I'm doing the stand-up and I do YouTube. So I've been listening to more interviews with people who do that shit, right? And the thing that everybody unanimously says is there's no fucking shortcut, really. You just have to put in the hard work. I was listening to an interview with a stand-up who said, and it's like a legendary stand-up, who said they did it for 25 years before they got big. And there was just they just had to do that. They had to do it for 25 years before they were able to really make money doing it. And I've been doing this channel for 4 years. It's grown at a very slow rate. 15,000 is not nothing. But a lot of channels that have been going for 4 years might have hit more by now. But that's not what we're doing here. This is a very niche channel. I talk about a very niche subject for weirdos like me who care about stuff like a single screenshot from JW broadcast. And so I want to my guiding light going forward is just to do whatever the fuck I want to do, but to do it well. I want to get better at the things I do and not play the algorithm game, because I think in the long run, and it may take a really long time, I think it's the only way to really make it. I fucking hate AI stuff. It scares me, obviously, because of AI art or in capitalism or something. I'm not smart, but it freaks me out a little bit. But I think the number one thing that has value now is just like authenticity and the effect that algorithms can have when it comes to chasing the algorithm, which is what I'm constantly in my head telling myself that I should do to grow the channel. It kind of makes everything sound the same. Like a lot of I love Apostate Barbie's TikToks. She's in chat right now. But I think one of the reasons why her TikToks are great is because they're very her personality. They're not like other things. But when I go on TikTok, half the shit I see is everybody doing the same exact thing, because that's what gets picked up in the algorithm. And so I'm kind of just like determined to just not do it. I might never make money as or I make some on the channel, but I might not ever be able to like quit a day job, but I'll feel better about what I'm doing. That wasn't really a rant. I don't even know if it made sense. I guess what I'm trying to tell you is I'm going to do more stuff, but I'm not going to make it more broadly appealing, probably. I think the only thing to do is just be me and put out shit, and hopefully people notice and it accumulates and whatever. But if not, I'm going to be here every Sunday anyway. It is legitimately the mantra for my life. And it's not a bad mantra to live by. A cautionary tale. Ruby Quinn says she'd love to collaborate. Well, shoot me an email. It's not in the description of this because I did a bad job setting up this stream, but my email's in the description of other videos. So shoot me a mail. Shoot me a mailie. And oh no, what? People are dying of no blood transfusion disease? What the hell's happening? What was the last thing that I wanted to do? Did you see all the AI generated JW resignation letter? No. I don't know what that is, actually. Oh, wait, there was a comment that I wanted to touch upon because it actually tied into what I wanted. Okay. Michelle Rodriguez was raised at Jehovah's Witness. Here's another thing about Michelle Rodriguez is she was in season 2 of Lost. She's in other episodes. But I'm a ridiculous fan of the show Lost. It's like I got a lot of Star Wars books and video game shit, and I'm a fan of a lot of things. Lost is the thing that, you know, when I watch those TikTok videos that are kind of like, you might have autism if X, Y, and Z. And I'm like, oh no, I have X, Y, and Z. It's about Lost. So that's what I'm going to talk about on another channel. But I promise the script is fucking funny. I think it's good. All right. Let's do one last thing. Let's do Andy Naylor Understands. I think you're going to like it. It's just another thing like Jehovah's Witnesses that's like so in my DNA that I can talk about it effortlessly for hours at a time like a crazy person. So that is going to be the vibe. That is going to be the vibe of the channel. And is God above as my witness, my Lord in Christ, I'm going to tell you why the ending is actually good. That's what I'm going to do. See, this is the thing with Lost, is season 3 is when they were really stagnating. The back half of season 3, I think, is when the show really gets like next level good and kind of kicks into high gear. But that first half of season 3 is pretty rough. This is not a stream about Lost. It's incredible that so many people have stuck around while I've rambled about that bullshit. Okay, let's talk about another thing. Thank you. Let's touch base on that. Apostate Bar. Let's touch base on TikTok. Apostate Bar was kind enough to offer to help me with TikTok. And I was like, that sounds amazing. And then I fucked up and never followed up about it at all. Okay. What do I want to do here? Here's the question. Oh yeah, that's it. That's around the time when the show was in a bit of a flux. Okay. I've got 2 options for you. I'm going to do a poll. We talked about poll earlier when we talked about sex so much. I talked about poll with XJW Caleb on one of his streams about how Jesus died on a pole. Start a poll. Start a poll. Okay, so I'm going to start a poll about 2 options. I want you to know, I swear to God, I will not be offended by anything by what you vote for. All right. Here's the 2 options. You are not annoying me at all. I annoy myself because I have ADHD and I'm fundamentally incapable of following through on my plans that exist. Okay, did that poll show up? It did. All right, so here's what I was thinking. As far as the rest is to either watch a video, it's kind of been on my mind, although it's a little long, so we'll just watch a little bit of it, or read let's call it a preview of Not a Cult, the novel. This is not actual. Let me explain. Allow me to explain. Actually, I fucking won't. I'll explain if you vote for it. I won't explain if you don't want to watch it. Let's see. But one thing that's definitely happening is I have to pee like a motherfucker. So I might do that. We'll see if that's any good. Okay, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to, for the next 2 minutes, I gotta take a pee. And unfortunately, you know what that means.
Have you ever been confronted by a bad report, a false report about Jehovah's people? Angry? Did God really say that? Now that was a lie. Satan here's one. A lie. Nothing. No.
All right, here we are. Okay, we're back. And we're back. What won the contest of things? Oh shit. It's all going downhill. Wow. 42 vote. Let's watch a vid is pulling ahead. It's pulling ahead. What if the vid was me reading a book? That would be like Inception. The thing I wrote is basically the short story that ended up becoming not a cult, the novel. It has basically nothing to do with the plot of the book, but it informed what the book has become. So that's what's going on here. And I believe in democracy, so watch a vid, one out. Uncultured swine, I say. You want to read a book or watch a shitty movie? Everybody voted shitty movie. Unbelievable. I'm kidding. Okay, so let me find this video. This video that I thought was so weird. Is that what we want to watch? Let's see what's new. I think the video that I was thinking of would be almost too long. Render sacred service with godly fear. Or Troy Snyder, help for the discouraged. Have we ever heard of Troy Snyder before in our entire lives? You should read what you wrote regardless of whether we watch a vid. Can Super Chat's vote count for more? Absolutely, yes. Actually, the next Super Chat, when it'll be like our real democracy, where people with money will influence the results of the election. Okay, we'll do a sneak peek after the video. You gotta stick around. Let's look at Troy Snyder, because I've never heard of this guy. Actually, let's look up his name and see if he's, because if he's a new guy, if we have a new man that just dropped content-wise, I think we gotta, take that seriously. Looks like he may have given a talk at the annual meeting or a Gilead, but this is his first solo morning worship joint. So that's a big deal, and I think we should show respect for Troy Snyder. I'm releasing my debut novel later this year, so I think we should watch Troy Snyder's debut video. Legitimately, for real, I feel like half the time I look at these people, I'm like, who the fuck are these men anymore? I don't even. And I mean, enough time has passed that there's kind of like a new crop of guys that came in. Hey, you had Troy visit your congregation for a CO checkup visit. You know what else I think I'll do? Just to really signify that we're entering a new era. Is I'll wear a hat because my hair looks fucking gross. It looks like unprofessional. Maybe I'll wear a hat when I read the story to go like full douche. I'll wear my newsy hat so I look like. I honestly just have never worn it on a stream because it makes me look exactly like Germ, aka mentally diseased. Holy shit, Deanna rigged the polls. Stop the count. Stop the count. Read the story. Okay, I'll read you the story later. We'll do both. Why not both?
When was the last time?
Oh, let me know if this audio is picking up on my microphone because I forgot my headphones and I don't feel like getting them and connecting them. I mean, what are we doing here? All right, Troy. Well, hang on a second. Falling Tower. What is your memory of Troy? I have a floppy fisherman hat while pressure washing. Well, I think I've got almost like a trucker hat that I think works. I will elevate my requested demand for this is such a good. I will elevate my requested demand for 5 crisp Canadian waterfowl. For some reason, waterfowl has been a word that I have brought up several times in the last few days. Is it in the ether? Are waterfowl in the news? This is honestly the most legitimate vote. It's a buy format. We just do both is what happens. Hang on one second. Oh, you're fine. I thought about asking Christina to. Well, I actually did, but then I remembered the hat's actually closer to me. All right, I'm going to start playing Troy, and I'll be right back. This is what I've learned from streaming professionals, is that the best streams are when a person hits play and then walks away for like 3 minutes.
When was the last time you got discouraged? I think we've all experienced those low emotions when we feel like giving out or throwing in the towel as we speak. Now, we're not talking about serious depression, which is described in the October 2013 Awake as something that is often ongoing and can interfere with our daily life. No, discouragement is low points. It's an emotion that can come on us quickly.
Yeah.
It can cause us to lose our zeal for spiritual activities.
And
it's brought on by a variety of factors. For example,
Okay, so he's talking about discouragement. This is like the number one. They talk about this more than they talk about Jesus Christ, I feel like, is discouragement. So this is my kind of like trucker hat. It says Tashi Station. It's a reference to Star Wars. Fans will pick up. Wait, we got a medical definition. All right, I'll rewind it. Tashi. It's where you go to pick up some power converters.
Lose our zeal for spiritual activities. And it's brought on by a variety of factors. For example, unfulfilled expectations, criticism, personal failings.
No, give me the definition.
Throwing in the towel as we speak. Now, we're not talking about serious depression, which is described in the October 2013 Awake as something that is often ongoing and can interfere with our daily life.
That's good. When I need a definition of a mental health condition, I go to the Awake magazine. Good Lord.
No, discouragement is low points. It's an emotion that can come on us quickly. It can cause us to lose our zeal for spiritual activities.
Rude.
And it's brought on by a variety of factors. For example, unfulfilled expectations, criticism, personal failings, lack of results in the ministry.
It's like not centered on my head.
Now, discouragement is not a sign of spiritual weakness.
Oh, okay.
Many faithful ones in the Bible experienced discouragement.
Wait a minute. What the hell are we doing? I never learned my lesson. So yesterday, when I was pulling clips, I was watching some of that Stephen Lett talk that I played at the beginning, which some of you might not have seen. So I'll show it later too. But like, I played it at 1.5 speed for Stephen Lett, and he sounded slightly faster than normal, like just a little bit faster than normal, but it was listenable. I was able to listen to what the fuck he was saying. And then when I went back to just normal speed, it was like he went in like double, triple slow motion times a million. Stephen Lett talks so slow, it's almost impossible. It must take such a conscious effort to talk that slow.
But it is something we have to take serious because as our scripture texts highlight, when we're discouraged, our strength can be meager. Jehovah takes it serious when we're discouraged.
He takes it very serious.
Let's open our Bibles to Psalm 34. Psalm 34. And notice what Jehovah does when you are discouraged.
Notice it.
Psalm 34, and look at verse 18. It says, Jehovah is close to the brokenhearted.
Shut up.
He saves those who are crushed in spirit.
Okay, by the way, a notice supercut would be good. If anyone wants to beat me to it, a supercut of every time they just say notice, that would be good. Because they say it a bunch. It is a Bazinga-esque catchphrase.
Discouraged. Yes, Jehovah gets close to us when we're discouraged. Isn't that a beautiful thought to think that Jehovah comes
so close
near
that
to
you
us
can see
to assist
Jehovah?
us because he loves us, he draws close to us? Now, why might he do that? Why does he remind us that he's close by? Well, one reason may be because when we're discouraged, we can feel like we've disappointed Jehovah, or he's no longer with us, or we may feel slow to reach out and talk to him in prayer. By Jehovah reminding us that he's
going to talk back, by the way?
It dispels that negative emotion. Another reason he may get close to us is because of what 1 Peter chapter 5, verse 8 says, that Satan is like a roaring lion seeking to devour us. Yes, he's on the attack. Yes,
this is one of the most insane images that they've ever produced, by the way, that this is what's happening. I mean, it scarred me for the amount of life in the organization I had left post seeing this picture. But this is what they want to put in your head when you're thinking about looking at a saucy video on the internet. A literal demonic lion is behind you, like voyeuristically. And maybe that's the category he's looking at, is like voyeurism. But he's like laughing at God, like, ha, he's gonna take his little pud out. He's gonna pull his little pud. Just some voyeurism.
We get discouraged.
That's what Satan is
and
saying.
Our strength becomes meager. We can drop our guard. And like a literal lion, Satan looks to take advantage of those who are weak.
What a magnificent beast.
Does not want us to give up.
Lion.
And as a result, because of his love for us, he draws close to us. Now, if Jehovah is close to us when we're discouraged, what can we do to reach out to him? Let's talk about three things that we can do. One is our prayers.
Thank you.
Including them. Two, our Bible reading. How it can help us. And three, our association. So first of all, our prayers. We pray to Jehovah with confidence, knowing he hears our prayers. He acts on our behalf. It's not just a feel-good therapy for us, but we're talking to Jehovah, someone who loves us and wants to rescue us. Now, what might we include in our prayers? Well, remember what Jesus encouraged us to do at Luke chapter 11, 9 through 13? He said, ask for Holy Spirit. Why? Because the Holy Spirit is given to us to comfort us, to strengthen us.
I think it's very toxic that Jehovah is always like, yeah, I know what you need already, but you still have to ask me because I need the attention, I guess. Like, yeah, I know you need Holy Spirit. You got to ask me. And then you got to ask me some more. And sometimes you got to ask for extra. I think if we understood the portions of Holy Spirit, a lot would be cleared up for me. Because there's like such a thing as a double portion, is there not? Like, oh, Jehovah gave him a double portion of Holy Spirit. What's the phrase? Somebody in chat help me out with that. And that always confused me because it's like, well, what the fuck kind of miserly portions am I getting?
And evidently the Apostle Paul, when he was discouraged, in moments of discouragement, he asked for Holy Spirit. That's why Philippians 4:13, he said, all things, He's able to endure because of the one who imparts power to him.
What is it?
Because that
Explain Holy
can
Spirit.
renew our strength spiritually.
I just don't think Jehovah's Witnesses' conception of Holy Spirit really makes sense. It makes a lot more sense. I don't know. I think the Holy Ghost as a concept is always, I've just always had a hard time with it, even when I was trying to figure out, my beliefs after leaving the religion, and I had more like mainstream Christian beliefs about the Bible. I just never felt like I had a handle on the Holy Spirit. It's like, what is this? Who's this other person? I guess, because it's obviously personified in the Trinity. I
And emotionally,
I don't get
when
it.
we ask for it. Another thing we might want to include in our prayers is
So it is
highlighted for us in
double
Psalm,
portion.
at chapter 61, at Psalm 61. And notice what the psalmist says in verse 2. Psalm 61:2. It says, "From the ends of the earth I will cry out to you when my heart is in despair. Lead me onto a rock that is higher."
Iraq, lead him to Iraq.
Because
Holy
we can
shit.
ask Jehovah to lead us to a rock that is higher than we are.
Lead
to give
me
us
to
that inner
Iraq.
confidence that seems inaccessible by our own strength. Isn't that what he?
If I was like a more thoughtful, sensitive person, I probably should have talked about how the Armageddon fears and stuff. Because I get that sometimes. Not about literally like the Jehovah's Witness conception of Armageddon happening, but when a lot of scary world conditions happen all at once, it's fucking scary. And that's what's going on right now. That's what's going on right now. Yeah, lead him to Iraq. I think that's what he's saying.
Did for Elijah. Remember the account with Elijah. He had the privilege, as you see in the image there in the back.
Elijah, so happy, so quaint. He's like literally posing for this picture.
Background of seeing Jehovah's hand in defeating the Baal prophets. But then shortly afterwards, he got discouraged because of a bad report he'd heard. He felt alone, and as a result, he found himself pouring his heart out to Jehovah in prayer.
I look like an asshole.
Well, how did Jehovah lead him to a rock that was higher than he was, or give him that inner confidence? Well, Jehovah changed his perspective. Jehovah reminded him that there was 7,000 others that had also stayed faithful to Jehovah. He was not alone. That strengthened Elijah.
Are you really not alone if the only person who's with you is invisible? I don't know. These are the kind of questions. I'm realizing now one of the reasons why my hair looked weird to begin with is because I wore this hat earlier when I was sitting outside on the patio.
Yes, when we pray to Jehovah to help lead us to a rock higher than we are,
Iraq,
we'll do just as he did for Elijah.
Solid as a rock.
Another thing we can do is focus in on our Bible reading when we're discouraged. Now, what verses do you find comforting when you have those low moments? Many find encouragement from reading the Psalms. However, we might also want to consider the encouragement we're given at Hebrews chapter 12. Notice what Hebrews chapter 12 says regarding running the race with endurance. What can help us? Look at verse 2. Talking about running with endurance. It says, "As we look intently at the chief agent and perfecter of our faith, Jesus, for the joy that was set before him, he endured a torture stake, despising shame, and is sat down at the right hand of the throne of God." So we look intently at who? The chief agent, Jesus. That term chief agent describes Jesus' essential.
What the fuck is he saying?
Hand of the throne of God. So we look intently at who? The chief agent, Jesus.
Oh, the chief agent. I was hearing literal nonsense words. I thought you were saying like chief agent. Like chief agent?
That term chief agent describes Jesus' essential role in helping humans. And what will be the result when we stay focused?
Literally, we have lawn chairs.
Indeed, consider closely the one who has endured such hostile speech from sinners against their own interests, so that you may not get tired and give up. With that
That's
in mind,
exactly what I was
the
referencing.
gospel accounts. You see, when we read the Gospels, we see the refreshment that comes from Jehovah and Jesus.
I feel like Jesus looks so derpy in this drawing too. Like, I don't know. I'm always curious who they use as the models for Jesus. It's got to be quite an honor. I also wonder about who they use for Eve, because they always paint her naked with strategically placed leaves over her nip.
And because Jesus is a perfect reflection of his Father,
it's probably just some sister in Bethel.
Read about the accounts where Jesus took care of the downtrodden, helped the lowly. The Sermon on the Mount, as we read that, it soothes us because it helps reset our priorities. Yes, reading the gospel accounts keeps us focused on the chief agent, Jesus, and helping us in times of discouragement. Another way we can reach out to Jehovah in times of...
I think, okay, so to try and make an actual point instead of just watching a stupid video, one thing this makes me think of is like, because I tried to make a differentiation between what I consider to be like Christian cults and just the religion of Christianity. I reject the idea that like all religions are cults. I just don't think that's true. And I also don't like the idea of flattening the language to the point where cult has no meaning. I think it's important to differentiate groups that are harmful and have outsized amount of control. I definitely found reading the Gospels really comforting when I was a theist still, but I think it wasn't so much about overcoming discouragement, because like everything when you're a Jehovah's Witness is just all about making it to the end, like just surviving and not fucking up and losing your hope, not messing up and losing out on a chance to live forever in a paradise earth. And that's kind of harmful. It's almost narcissistic because it just makes absolutely everything about you. What I found really useful about the Gospels was you know, trying to live like Jesus in terms of being a more compassionate, kind person. Now, I don't know. You've seen the channel and how I am generally. I don't know if it works. Maybe I should check in with Jesus again. But it's funny that like witnesses don't really have that outlook. Obviously, they're like, yeah, Jesus, you should follow his example. He served Jehovah and his organization. And I think if you're going to follow Jesus, you know, follow the way he acted and talked and treated people. Thank you, Frank Claro, by the way. Appreciate it.
The discouragement is to put ourselves in association with our brothers and sisters.
I also,
when we're associating with our brothers and sisters, Jehovah can move them to help us, to strengthen us.
Jehovah can move them to help us and strengthen us. And sometimes they're not even aware of it, which is like, it takes away agency even from being a nice person. Like you can't even take a little bit of pride in that you helped someone because you're like, no, that wasn't even me. That was Jehovah using me to comfort someone. Like you get all of the blame, but none of the credit. I know I've said that before, but it's true. And they talk about discouragement so much. And I think it's because it's just the easiest thing in the world to stay home from church. I think probably all churches have that problem, is people being like, or I could just stay home and not go. And for cults, that doesn't work out super well because part of the indoctrination is just the sheer repetition, being able to monitor you, having people watch you, and certainly feeling a part of the group. And they can't do it as effectively if you distance yourself. They can't control you quite as much. So I think they worry about discouragement, not because they have any sincere concerns about mental health or depression, but because it's bad for their business.
And sometimes they're not even aware of it. You see, notice what association with our brothers and sisters can do. We open our Bibles to Acts chapter 28, and notice the effect it had on the Apostle Paul. He was in a low point, being in prison bonds, being transferred to another location, discouraged.
I'm not saying he's top 100, but he's all right.
15, Acts 28, verse 15. From there, the brothers, when they heard the news about us, came as far as the marketplace of Appius and 3 taverns to meet us. And notice, on catching sight of them, Paul thanked God and took...
Who was the reference for the harlot that all us XJWs are horny for now? Because she must have been quite a looker. I only use objectifying terms from like the 1920s. That broad was a real looker.
Took courage. It's just the sight of his brothers brought Paul courage, gave him that inner strength to not give up and to continue on. So in review, when we get discouraged from time to time.
All right. Well, we saw that. I don't know if that was worth our time, but we did see it. I don't know if Troy is really going places. I don't know if Troy's got what it takes. I mean, obviously what it takes has nothing to do with whether or not you're a compelling speaker and everything to do with how much of a suck up you are and probably being in the right place at the right time to a certain degree. She's just a normal looking lady. How disappointing is that? So they kind of did like, I guess, literal airbrushing with a paintbrush. All right, you shitbirds. Let's read some literature. This is potentially embarrassing. If you think this sucks, don't worry. None of this is in the book. So, not a cult. Let's watch the teaser to get in the mood. This will get us in the mood. Oh, God, it's taking a while.
For more than 100 years, Jehovah's Witnesses have proclaimed the Bible's message that God's kingdom will rid the world of wickedness, restore the earth to paradise, and raise mankind to perfection. Sharing this truth, however, has often resulted in persecution from powerful institutions. But why has such a positive message elicited such a negative reaction?
What will you do in the face of Satan's attack?
What's the identity of Gog and Magog? When, why, and how will Gog attack Jehovah's people?
Being a publisher of the good news is a privilege that Satan seeks to attack.
We model ourselves after the first century Christian congregation in almost every way, Ben. Every way except for one: works of the Spirit. Some first century apostles could heal the sick, speak in tongues, expel demons. Yet this is an area we as Jehovah's people have neglected, and because we are not like false religions in Satan's world, when Jehovah's people encounter new information, we investigate.
Who do you think are Satan's primary targets? We are.
Ooh. Okay, so that's the dumb little trailer I made for the actual book. So the novel itself is not this short story that I'm going to read, but this is what turned into the thing that you're going to read this fall. You will read it. Did you know that? It's going to happen, whether you like it or not. So the actual book, I messaged our birthday boy when I started writing it, because I was calling it The Jexorcist because I wanted to do like The Exorcist but with Jehovah's Witnesses. I would say that the final product, I guess it's not final, but how the story has evolved, it's not quite that, but it is what it seems to be, right? It is a supernatural, paranormal, occult horror story that takes place in a small town of Jehovah's Witnesses in rural Ohio. And it follows two characters. One, a branch representative who is our man of faith, who is sent to investigate a possible demonic activity in this rural congregation. There's been these deaths that have been occurring that seem to have a basis in demonism, in the occult. So he has to watch a kind of creepy video from in a private meeting in Bethel that primes him that he's going to be an exorcist. And it also follows a physically out, mentally in ex-member who is shunned. She was disfellowshipped, but clearly has not processed her trauma. She has a daughter. Her daughter starts acting demonized, and it starts pulling her back into the religion. So there's kind of two stories happening. That's what the actual novel is going to be. But that's not what it was originally. I had a different conception of it. So I'm going to read you this little bit here. Should I put some music behind it? We got music. What do we want? Turn this a little lower. I don't think we want acoustic cinematic, surely. It sounds like it's going to be cringe. That does sound. Feeding the Ducks is what this is called. Is this what Feeding Ducks sounds like? I don't think so. This one's called Night Driving. All right, sure. Let's do Night Driving. Is it better to put it on screen or not? I don't know. What should I put on screen? There should be some kind of image, right? Ooh. Do I have this? No. I found this incredible quote from Russell that is gonna probably open the book, but Here, I'll show the screen for a second, I guess. I don't know if I want this up the whole time. So one thing that is still definitely the case about the book is that there's a lot of quotes from publications. Like each chapter starts with some quote from the publication. The story has evolved to involving Russell and the early Bible students a lot more. You know, like his writings on demons and stuff. It's creepy as shit. Makes for a good horror story. So there's a lot of, quotes. So here's a quote. A little bit of mood setting. Wicked spirits have power to hurt and harm. They are vicious. And before Christ jails them in destruction forever, they are doing all they can to bring humans under their wicked power. That's from You Can Live Forever in a Paradise Earth. Sorry, You Can Live Forever in Paradise on Earth. Published by Jehovah's Witnesses. Okay, so the main difference I would say between this, just as a bit of preamble, is that all of the protagonists and point of view characters are Jehovah's Witnesses in the final product. And I think that's a little different in this short story, but here you go. At some point during the trip back from headquarters, someone brought up the subject of demons. None of the four men was allowed to talk about the obvious, the thing they were all thinking about, the only thing that made sense. So, Dorn is telling the story. The other things go on briefly to death as the top of his skull burst open like a jack-in-the-box. He wondered if things might have gone differently, if only he'd just followed the directions headquarters had given him in the first place. The four of them were brothers, though not related by blood. If you'd asked their opinion, they would have told you they were bonded by something far more powerful, the spirit. And sure enough, seeing their remains spackled along the inside of the minivan, seeing the terror on the one eyeball left in a half remaining skull, it did appear that the spirit had won out over the flesh. Before the slaughter, there were four of them in the white Kia minivan. Only two were intact when I came upon the scene, or more intact than what remained of the others. In the thick glaze of blood and flayed flesh, I can't even write the shit I wrote. I could not entirely be sure who any of them were, not even my friend, Ben Duncombe, the one who'd looped me in this little excursion of theirs. Now they looked like meat slabs falling off sagging hooks, stuffed in business suits that rendered them more or less identical. Congealed blood dripped from the van ceiling in drips and drabs, which was about how the conversation had been going until dumbass Dorn brought up demons. The drive to headquarters had the men abuzz with a nervous excitement. If undersexed company men in their 50s could be said to abuzz... If undersexed company men in their 50s could be said to be abuzz in any circumstance. They swapped stories about the ministry before shifting to what anyone else in the... It's hard to read. Did you know that? They swapped stories about the ministry before shifting to what to anyone else was congregation gossip, but was in their eyes, and God's surely, serious business. But there was no business quite so pressing as that which had brought them all to this van in the first place, the letter from headquarters. A letter from headquarters was not in itself a notable occurrence. They got one every month, if not more, and most were about the mundane bureaucracy of God's one true kingdom. Filing field service reports on time was a biggie. How many doors did you knock on? How much literature did you place? How many times did you shove your iPhone in someone's face and make a stranger in their pajamas on a Saturday morning watch a video on our weird website? This letter, the one the body of elders had received last night via their accounts on the aforementioned weird website, this one was urgent. Dear brothers, it had started, as they all started. They all came with the same Christian Congregation of Jehovah's Witnesses letterhead, the same Watchtower logo emblazoned in the top right corner. And the word urgent would have been nothing to be surprised by either. Hell, most of the letters contained that word, Ben had told me last night. You know how it is, Armageddon's coming, so everything is urgent. Just like it was urgent in every previous letter to every other body of elders for the past 150 years. Okay, so I'm just going to make an aside before I get too much further into this. There's the big difference, I would say, is that it's not written like this is written in first person from an XJW point of view, so it's kind of sarcastic, and that's not the tone of the final book. I'll stop interrupting myself. Are we enjoying this, or is it cringe? I don't know. We'll see. urgent to be read immediately upon receipt. Jehovah's Chariot continues full. Hang on. I will put this on the fucking screen just in case I once again get nervous and get scared. Let me zoom in. So this is the letter from the body box. Jehovah's Chariot continues to speed ahead as you go on for as the faithful and discreet slave has time and time again lovingly reminded us in recent years, the time left is reduced. Furthermore, the devil is a hungry lion seeking to devour. In our time of the end, the devil has used the court systems and news media to spread lies, half-truths, and misinformation regarding Jehovah's Witnesses. To that end, the appointed heads of the visible part of Jehovah's organization, the governing body, with authority from our Lord and reigning King Christ Jesus, have prepared life-saving material to be shipped immediately to key locations in your local branch, brackets, the United States. The address listed in this letter has your congregation's shipment. Each letter has been personalized for each congregation, so please diligently ensure that you follow only these instructions. Each elder body shall appoint 4 shepherds to travel by motor vehicle to the local branch-approved site to pick up these life-saving materials. This motor vehicle must be legally owned by the driver of the vehicle. And what do you think that's about? I asked Ben last night. The legally owned vehicle shit. This was over iMessage, but we were both old bastards who wrote with proper grammar, like we were pen pals swapping handwritten letters. Oh, they just don't want brothers taking Ubers. Or like the driver gets pulled over with all the boxes. It's not legally his car, gets into trouble. I didn't quite understand this and started to object, but I saw the 3 dots doing the wave at the bottom of the screen and let him go first. They're scared shitless, Tom, he said. It doesn't make sense because they're scrambling and making it up as they go along. True enough, but true enough as a concept had not served me well in life thus far, and I had a lingering suspicion. Okay, I gotta ask the obvious, I said. I'm hoping he just reads my mind, but he refuses. He says he thinks he knows what I mean, but doesn't want to guess wrong and make it a whole thing. So I go ahead with my obvious question. Is this Jonestown? He responds quickly and plainly, no, cutting off any speculation on my part. He knows me. Fuck no, dude, he says in the next text bubble. We really are like old pen pals. Neither of us would say fuck or dude in person because we'd grown up in an organization that trained us to lock up such words deep in the back of our brains, never to escape those lovely, perfect mouths Jehovah God designed for us. Millions of members all over the world, impossible to coordinate, and no motive. They're in a decline but bleeding slow. So now it's more mundane miracles. This was our little phrase we'd stumbled upon when we both realized we had doubts about the truth being, the truth. Mundane miracles. The governing body bragged on monthly broadcasts about the sorts of fantabulous things that happen only in God's organization. These were never biblical in size or spectacle. Our water into wine was finally scraping together enough donated funds to afford a proper baptism pool for the regional convention 3 years ago, and enough free labor to install it, fill it, unfill it, uninstall it in a single day. Our parting of the Red Sea was having enough donated funds and free labor to finish building the organization's new headquarters in time. Now, if you're asking, in time for what? Good for you, because I didn't bother to ask that question until I'd already donated my time and free labor to the cause. Or, not that I didn't bother, more that I trained myself to not ask such questions. Train myself, as we all trained ourselves, to form new neural pathways and shutter off old ones. The ones that might lead to questions like, are we sure that when Jesus talked about a faithful and discreet slave, he was prophesying the coming of a publishing company run by 9 old men in upstate New York in the year of our Lord 2023? I wrote this in 2023. Remember the box thing that happened where there were secret boxes? That inspired this. Anyway, it wasn't Jonestown, but Ben didn't know what it was. The rest of the letter was just as vague, and it's hard to take too seriously the threats of a religious group that has inaccurately predicted the end of the world on 6 previous occasions. Usually, he told me, it's just a new tract or magazine campaign. You get the friends fired up to preach, knock on twice as many doors as usual for 2 months, multiply that times 8 million over 240 lands, and maybe you squeeze out a few extra 1,100 new converts out of it? Ben had properly killed my conspiracy boner. Even though, if this was nothing, this was one of the single most batshit letters the organization had produced in its entire history, which was saying something. So, nothing fun, I asked him. And this was the last thing I ever asked him. Tom, you know fun is against their religion. This was the last thing he ever said to me when he was alive. After he died, he told me much more. In the meantime, we'd make it fun. I had convinced him to help me record the thing. He would call me, hide his phone in his breast pocket, and leave it on speakerphone so I could hear the nothing fun trip. I was stuck in the organization just like Ben. He had a wife, we both had children, and Ben had his entire window washing business tied up in it, employees and clients. We both had too much to lose to just walk out the door. In the meantime, we played like spies, and Ben was deep cover. He was an elder, so he was able to leak the monthly letters. The subreddit was already blowing up with speculation as to what the hell this latest letter was about. They didn't have Ben to tell them it wasn't Jonestown. I'd been playing around with the idea of starting a YouTube channel, mostly to keep myself from going crazy, keep secrets to myself. And a surreptitious recording of the creepy trip to headquarters seemed like a juicy enough first video. Ben broadcasted. I recorded on mine until later, until the screaming started, and I scrambled to my car. When the four men got to headquarters, hang on a second. How we doing? We doing all right? We doing okay? I promise the final book doesn't involve XW YouTubers in any capacity. When the four men got to the headquarters-approved pickup site, they were checked at the security gate. A young sound man made them show their identification, which he was apparently cross-checking with some database. Over text, Ben filled me in on the details. It was the ranch of a fellow believer, at least a servant or pioneer, maybe an elder. He had a big plot of land with, it turned out, a gate. They were ushered up the driveway where a great pallet sat stacked with brown boxes, 8 by 8, 4 feet tall. These ain't all gonna fit, said Brother Baker to the rich ranch guy. Oh, just the here, brother, said the rich ranch guy. A couple more congregation there's. On my end, it's all rustling and grunting as the men start to hoist boxes like an old fire brigade in the back of the van. Many bits of audio picked up. I don't know how to read this out loud. Direction, bro. What did you say? Follow the direction, brother. Whatever. When they were packed and on the way back, Ben Duncombe took a shot at addressing the 8 elephants stacked neatly in the trunk. Do you think it's the Great Tribulation? He asked. What, the whole Great Tribulation in them boxes? Said Brother Ellis. You know what I mean, said Ben. I do and I don't, sniffed Brother Baker. I do reckon it's something very new, maybe what many of us have been waiting for. What we've all been waiting for. But how could that be in a box? 8 boxes, Jehovah help me. I just don't know. Brothers, said Brother Dorn, like it was the period to Baker's last sentence. The direction we received was clear. We do not speculate on the contents. We are not to open them until December the 15th. So, in 2 months, we and the entire Worldwide Brotherhood will know. It's a small paintbrush situation. This was all it took. It's a small paintbrush situation. Like Brother Dorn had said the code word a hypnotist uses to make the subject act like a chicken. Ben Duncombe, of course, wasn't under the spell, but he knew how to pretend like he was. If he spoke up, if any of them spoke up, they could be disciplined for disobedience, because this was a small paintbrush situation. See, a few years ago, the difference between many and few gets compressed and soggy as I grow older. One of the governing body members had given a sermon on the official JW website. He gave a strange sort of parable, or illustration as we called them, about following direction. Suppose, he said, the local body of elders wants the Kingdom Hall to be painted, and all the publishers are to be given a small 2-inch paintbrush with which to paint. This is an exact quote, mind you. Now what could happen? The publishers could get all upset concerning this request of the elders, saying, it is ridiculous that the elders want us to paint with a small 2-inch paintbrush. He was very insistent on the matter of the paintbrush being small and 2 inches. Consequently, some could start campaigning for the right for everyone to use a 6-inch paintbrush. Others might campaign for using paint rollers to roll the paint on the Kingdom Hall. You had to hear the increasing absurdity in his voice. Still others might start trying to build support for renting and using a paint sprayer to spray the paint on the Kingdom Hall. In another camp, ones might champion the idea of hiring out to a contractor the painting of the Kingdom Hall, while another group is promoting the idea that the Kingdom Hall doesn't even need to be painted. The congregation would be divided. The Kingdom Hall would never get painted. Publishers would end up stumbled right out of the truth. The elders would be very discouraged. Jehovah would be sad. And Satan would be made very happy. Gee, you think, you, a gleamy-eyed worshiper of the one true God Jehovah, watching one of Christ's chosen representatives preach to you from a shiny cable news-ready desk that may as well be the Mount of Olives, Wouldn't it be so much easier if all those haughty people in the congregation just followed the direction and used the small 2-inch paintbrush to begin with? And so, when strange commands, which were never called or thought of by any of the members as commands, but rather direction, came to you, commands that seemed a little funny, a little odd, a little deeply inconvenient, a little potentially life-threatening, you should surely just follow the leader. Use the 2-inch paintbrush, little Tommy, or next thing you know, you'll be joining the paint sprayer rebellion and storming the Capitol while Satan smiles. So instead of talking about the boxes, the 4 men in the minivan got back to gossiping. New gossip led naturally to old gossip, which led naturally to old stories, of which Brother Dorn had more than anyone. Weird ASMR, but okay. Oh no, it's glitching so much! Shit. Hang on a second. Let me see if I can try and refresh things here. All right. You doing all right now? I actually think part of what was going on is I've got this noise canceling like plugin on StreamYard, and there was wind. I think it was catching the wind and trying to like mute it. Okay, so I'll get back to this. I'll get back to reading. Actually, I'm not going to put it on the screen. Got to keep reading your comments, Jake. I know. I got to say, I was expecting the audio at least to pick up. What was the last thing you heard? Seems like the small paintbrush analogy. Okay. I'll start here. It's not that important. This is all flavor. It's all flavor. And so, when strange commands, which were never called or thought of by any of the members as commands, but rather direction, came to you, commands that seemed a little funny, a little odd, a little deeply inconvenient, a little potentially life-threatening, you should surely just follow the leader. Use the 2-inch paintbrush, little Tommy, or the next thing you know, you'll be joining the paint sprayer rebellion and storming the Capitol while Satan smiles. So instead of talking about the boxes, the 4 men in the minivan got back to gossiping. And new gossip led naturally to old gossip, which led naturally to old stories, of which Brother Dorn had more than anyone. Man, it really is fucking windy out there. Did I ever tell you, Brother Dorn said, about the demonized woman me and Becca called on a few years ago? We did not, for whatever reason, use words like possessed or inhabited. If someone had a demon inside them, they had been demonized. Careful now, said Brother Baker. We don't want to give too much prominence to the demons. Ben, though, from the sounds of it, was dying for something not boring to happen, and he wasn't about to let the conversation drift back to Brother Baker's dog's hernia. The idea is, said Ben, in his capacity as Brother Duncombe, you don't want to give Satan or his demons more prominence than we give Jehovah. All the brothers nodded in spirit. But ministry stories always give glory to Jehovah, so I think we're safe. They all liked this, especially Brother Dorn, who seems to be telling this story as a curious concession for being a wet blanket about all the what's in the box speculation. So, it's a Saturday morning, haven't yet had our Tim Hortons break, and we're out in Delaware, rural territory. There's a 5-minute drive between houses, and the trees are all dead and thin, set out way back from the road. We pull up this gravel driveway to this gray 1-story ranch, and the first thing I notice is this great Rottweiler set up on the front porch. Now, I'm used to these big country mutts, used to them howling and jumping, straining against their chains, if they're even on one, slobbering, spitting that drool on you. Not old boy. He was sitting still. I thought it was a statue at first, but no. His eyes just followed me as I reached for the car door. I was going to take one of the young men with me. Jesus sent him out by 2, we all know. But I just had a bad feeling about the place. The dog's eyes were shiny, and this porch was cluttered with stacked up junk and yard tools, sun-worn kids' toys laid out like a trap for me to step in. But I stepped around the junk and said a little prayer and knocked on the door. They got a show for people like that now, Brother Baker said from the driver's seat, though I only gathered that last bit from the police report, for he was unrecognizable when I came upon the van. Hoarders. I watch it with the dog. She's got this hernia. It is windy. It's windy outside. That's when it's windy, but I'm being whimsical on the inside. A hernia joke. Well, they got ghost hunters too. I just see the commercials, said Brother Dorn, taking back his anecdote. And this house could have been on the first crossover episode. When I knock on the door, the lady is right there, like she knew I was coming. And that's exactly what she said. I knew you'd be here, she said. I've been praying for someone like you. And I totally fucking lost my place. I wanted to like dramatically mute the music, and then I fucked it up. Okay. When I knock on the door, the lady is right there, like she knew I was coming. And that's exactly what she said. I knew you would be here, she said. I've been praying for someone like you. She was a loose-looking woman, short skirt that exposed her midriff and uncombed hair. Not dun-combed hair. The men laughed, though Ben by force. Makes me sad to think the last thing Ben Duncombe ever laughed at was a joke he always hated. Anyway, she was young, I suppose, but a smoker from the sounds of it, so who knows. But her eyes are shiny and distant, like that dog sitting next to me on the porch. I feel uneasy, but I ask her what she prayed for. She says, someone like me, again. So I ask her, well, maybe be more specific. She says, I prayed for Satan to send another one. The car went silent. On my end, the sound waves on the recording fell to a thin line. Now, brothers, Dorn eventually said, I probably should have stepped off the porch right then and there. Truth be told, I didn't think I heard it right. So I said, stupidly, you prayed to who? Everybody laughed, about as comfortably as Ben had to the last attempt at humor. She says again, I prayed to Satan to send me another one. It could have been anyone, but I sure am glad it's you. I asked, another what? And I'm praying fervently with every breath, brothers. I'm praying because I've never had to run away from a door in the ministry before, and I know from the good book that Christ himself expelled demons. Another soul, she said. The whole time she's been smiling with her eyes, but not the rest of her face, if that makes sense. Well, maybe it doesn't. It sure didn't make sense to me, but it seemed like her whole face was happy, even when she was frowning. But as soon as she said soul, I thought what I'm sure you brothers thought. He paused to quiz the room. That the Bible does not teach the existence of an immortal soul, said Brother Jarrett. Very good, said Brother Dorn, who sounded like he was frowning even though his face was smiling. Brother Jarrett's been paying attention during the Watchtower. Ignore all these names. I think I fucked it up. This garnered a polite chuckle. Well, that's just what I say to her. I say I believe in the true God Jehovah. In his word, the Bible teaches that the soul is the body. When the body dies, it dies. What does she say to that? Said Ben. Slight pause, and I'm just listening to all this over Ben's speakerphone, mind you. But even then, before I knew for sure, it sounded to me like Dorn had lied when he said this. She didn't say anything. She shut the door, I walked away, got back in the car, and marked that house down as a do not call. Everybody laughed at that. Usually do not calls were noted for people asking with strained politeness to leave them the hell alone on Saturday mornings when they were trying to watch cartoons with their children. I had never heard of a witness skipping a house because the owner was demonized. I didn't have time to wonder much about Patrick Dorn's lie, at least not until later, until after Ben died, and he told me, made me listen as he told me over and over. I got a text from Ben. Going to turn on my location. My stomach sank a bit. A literal gut reaction because it happened before my brain had even registered the words or had the chance to worry about what they might mean. Okay, I texted back. Why? 3 dots jumping for a good long while. We're not going back the same way we came. That's the last I heard of Ben Duncombe, at least when he was alive. Last thing I heard that could be distinguished from the other horrible screams, cracks, and squelches. I stared at my MacBook screen for a minute as the noises called out of it. The line on the recording spiked like bad blood pressure, the normal up and down tide rising into a steady, unbroken wall. In a blur, I pulled up the text thread on my iPhone and clicked on Ben's location. 45-minute drive near Delaware County. I tried to drive fast. I felt like I was flying, but every time I looked down at the odometer, I was slower than the streaks and blurs in my periphery made it look. I had been in a daze. How long had I been driving? Had I called the police? I checked my recent outgoing calls, and no, I had not. I drove slowly through the blur. My finger hovered over the call button. What the hell was I calling the cops for? I heard some weird noises on my phone, officer. Sorry. I heard some weird noises on my phone, officer. My friend and I are in a doomsday cult, you see, in church. Only we don't call it church, but never mind. Church leadership sent them on an assignment to pick up some mysterious boxes from a random member's house, and I was secretly listening in on this conversation because my friend doesn't believe it either, and we thought it might make for a good YouTube content. And then one of the guys told a scary story, and they all started screaming, and can you please investigate? I keep driving. 20 minutes out now. My phone is in the cup holder, 9-1 still pulled up just in case. In case of what? They weren't going back the same way they came. But why did that matter? Sometimes Google Maps takes me different ways to get to my day job depending on traffic. Maybe Brother Baker had to stop and get gas. So why hadn't he texted me back? Why weren't my texts going through? It's probably just a coincidence, I tell myself. The demon story, then the scream. The mysterious letter, the mysterious boxes, the demon story, the text from Ben, then the scream. That's just a lot of shitty things happening right in a row, I tell myself. You should know, I tell myself, because your whole life has been a lot of shitty things happening right in a row, and you never once got killed by a demon. It's probably just a coincidence that the demonized lady in Patrick Dorn's story lived in Delaware, and that's where his car was currently stopped on the GPS. And then I tell myself, which is true, even though it turned out not to be true, that the most likely scenario is that they were all in a car crash, in which case I should call 911 for emergency services. So I do that. I still get there first. As distant sirens wind from beyond the barren trees, those woods of thin trees set far back from the road, I stare at the crashed minivan. Smoke flows from the crinkled hood, which is smashed into a mile marker. The trunk is open, most of the boxes tossed out and scattered. A mangled corpse, charred skin, and exposed muscle is lying beside the boxes. A flicker of recognition that it is odd, almost impossible, that the man's spine-exposed back is open, but the box is not. Dust kicks up from the road as I walk closer, see the blood smeared and spackled all over the inside of the glass of the side doors and windshield. I don't feel my legs moving, but I move closer, gliding like I'm on a dolly track. Why can't I stop? Maybe I don't want to. I use my coat sleeve to tug at the door handle, which emanates a digital, melodic ding, ding, ding as it automatically opens. Of course, the ding still works. I see the meat slabs, the torn open skulls and peeled onion skin. I see spaghetti strands of viscera peeling off the ceiling. I didn't know what to make of it. Despite what Ben had told me and keeps telling me, I still don't. He doesn't tell me all of it, or any of the things I want to know. He has a voice inside my skull, not my head, not my mind, my skull. I feel him sliding against the bone, pushing past wrinkles in my brain. I feel him trickling down my ear canal. Him, whatever he's become, is a full being with a shape and contour I can sometimes almost make out if I close my eyes and focus on feeling him. He is an entity inside me now, a body in my body, slithering like a cobra along my rib cage, stretching something like a spider web between them. And no matter where he is, no matter what organ he presses on or punctures, no matter what cartilage he crinkles, I can hear him like he's outside of me, like he's standing beside me, whispering in my ear. And he tells me that it was Dorn who made it out of the car. Whatever happened, whatever had been summoned or unleashed, whatever was in me now as Ben, it had left Dorn the least scathed, which meant he had one whole arm and half a leg to crawl with to drag himself to the boxes, to those goddamn motherfucking boxes. Oh yes, those were the words Ben Duncombe used. Oh yes, those were the words Brother Dorn used, Ben assures me. In his dying moments, what I'd call dying, he reiterates, not what dying really is. Patrick Dorn felt a startling clarity. He had done everything the organization had asked his entire life. Everything had been for Jehovah. Everything had been for his purpose. It was only in furthering his purpose that Patrick Dorn had come across the demon in the first place all those years ago. Had Patrick slept in that Saturday morning and enjoyed a nice cup of coffee and college football, he would have never let the demon in. And once you let one in, you can't just stop. They just keep coming, one after the other, until you're full up and ready to burst. See, Patrick Dorn had lied about how the rest of that story had gone. Just like you thought, Tommy, he whispers to me.
just like you thought. What she'd said, he says, what the demonized woman said, what I said was, I know, Patrick Dorn, the body is the soul. For you see, that was the objection he had raised, that I had told them I had prayed to Satan for a soul, and Patrick objected. The Bible doesn't teach that there's a soul, and Jehovah, blah, blah, blah. Well, I told him the truth. The body is a soul, and that's what I need. I need bodies. I need flesh. I need Legion. Did you ever hear the story of Legion? I asked Patrick. If he really knew the word of God, I told him, he would know that many demons could live inside one being. Where did Jesus send the Legion into? Pigs. So yeah, Patrick Dorn, even a dumb little pig can be full of demons. Even a dumb little girl. Even a divorced Waffle House waitress in Delaware, Ohio. Even a gross little pig like you, Patrick. Only this time, each time he says it now, he changes it. Even a gross little pig like you, Tommy. We can fit so many demons inside you, Tommy. I bet you feel like you're packed full, Tom. So full of bones and guts and fat. And you have put on weight, Tommy, that's for sure. But when I'm sliding around your insides, all I see is space. I see cavities and crevices, folds and wrinkles we can tuck right into. We'll fill you up, Tommy. We'll fill you up so full of demons that you'll explode. Boom. And that's it. That was the short story. So that's not how the novel is structured at all in any way. Is this book meant to be the first in the series? No, it will be self-contained. It will be totally self-contained. That, what do we think? What do we think of that? The good news is, if you didn't like it, it's not like that, really. The biggest difference is that, you know, it's not, the tone is not as snarky. It's written in third-person limited perspective. It jumps between the two main characters. It jumps between who now the branch guy, the person from Bethel, is Ben Duncombe, and a Pomey woman. And the story goes between those two perspectives, and maybe some others I won't spoil. But obviously they are indoctrinated Jehovah's Witnesses, so they don't have that kind of like detached, ironic view of the organization. But I really liked the kind of tone of it, and I liked the creepy demon shit. I liked the really grotesque way of describing the demons, and I don't think it's like a spoiler really to say that the idea that I had is like that the demons represent doubts and cognitive dissonance, and Legion is this demonic entity where many demons inhabit a being or a person. So what if a bunch of demons get in you and you just fucking explode? And so that I got away from the explosion part. The challenge of writing it, you know, is not making it mean-spirited, because that's what I felt like. Thank you for saying that. I also felt like I was a good prolonged intro to the story. I wrote it just thinking, well, this will just be a one-off, and I was like, actually, I'll just use this as chapter 1. And it's not at all. It's none of those characters are the same. But I think the reason why I changed it is because it felt a little mean-spirited to start the story with this like massacre of a bunch of Jehovah's Witnesses. Like I've been trying to figure out, like, how do you make it more empathetic to what I actually feel, which is that they're just people who have been victimized. They're three-dimensional people like everybody else. Thank you, Smalls. I really appreciate it. Thank you to everybody saying nice things. I appreciate it. I'm seeking validation is absolutely what's happening, because I've been stuck a little bit on one thing. The book is pretty much like
my rough draft is all like outlined and mostly written, except for the most important fucking thing, which is the end of the book. I know what the end is, but there's one specific detail that I haven't figured out, and so I've just been stuck on it, and it's just made me start freaking out about all these self-imposed deadlines, which I have learned is the only way that I can write, is if I have self-imposed deadlines. So I'm trying to crack this stupid fucking thing. But what's really fun, I think, is like the main story is a lot more. It feels still like a memoir almost. Like it's all made up of my memories of the kinds of people that I knew. Like the Ohio-ness of it. I started to lean into more, like the kind of slang that I grew up in, and the kind of little phrases and folksy expressions people would use. And as it turns out, Ohio itself has an important connection to Jehovah's Witnesses that you might know about. That's where they got their name. They announced the change from Bible students to Jehovah's Witnesses in Cedar Point, Ohio. And so that is, does that play a part in the story? I don't know. And so that's exactly, that's how I started writing it. So like the rough draft of the book was that was the first chapter of the book. And it was, established in the first chapter that like Ben Duncombe is like fucking demonized and explodes in a van. But then it cut back. Chapter 2 is like cut back to him at Bethel headquarters and stuff, or whatever. And then I followed the story from there, and it totally evolved. So subsequent drafts, this like just following where the story goes, that whole scenario with the van is like irrelevant. But I like a lot of the imagery and the descriptions. Those I've used. But the actual thing that happens to the people is different. I don't know how much to talk about. And I also don't know if it's cringe to talk about. I don't know. I can't figure out how to handle this. But I know I got to do self-promotion or something. I also... okay, I'll do this. I'll show you the cover art. No, I shouldn't. I'll save it. I want to show the cover art when it's finally done. I've got somebody who's taken a stab at doing a mock-up. But I will say that Sarah Riches, I actually should probably ask her how to pronounce her name. I've seen it in writing. Sarah Riches is a XJW artist who I've just really loved all of her paintings. They're amazing XJW paintings that have that kind of body horror element that this story definitely has. My whole life has been body horror. My entire life since I was a kid. So I've got a lot of, that's the form that the horror tends to take. Yes, it will be self-published. Traditional publishing is my dream, and I wrote a thing that I'm trying to get traditionally published now, and I've got a bunch of stuff I'm gonna try and do in that space. But this is like, it's an XJW horror novel. I don't even want to bother sending this to like a literary agent and try to explain to them that, like, no, I know that there's a bunch of like super specific JW language in it. But I think normal people will like it too. Like, no, I'm writing this for me and for you guys, like XJWs who just like, want to see horror represented using the shit that has horrified us. And the reality is, like, demons, I was very afraid of them as a kid. I'm trying to figure out the right way to take a stab at making a video on it. Hell yeah. Well, Ruby, I appreciate that. I saw that you started a virtual book club. I saw I think I'm subscribed to you on YouTube. I saw something about your book club, and that's amazing. Yeah, and Michael Osh is going to be on this channel, by the way, at some point, as is another author who was in chat earlier, who has a book coming out that is going to be traditionally published, as a matter of fact, as far as I know. Skull. I'm trying to do this so I can fucking pull up his name. Okay, well, I fucked it up. I can't do my dramatic reveal. But I will. Hang on. I'm going to pull this up so I've got the title and everything pulled up here. So it's Scott Jones, and the book is Drill, which is coming out later this year. He sent me an advanced copy of it, and it's fucking amazing. It's really well written. Michael Osh's books are also beautifully written. The thing that I'm going for is like genre fiction. I really want to lean into the tropes, and I think tropes is the right word. I like exorcism movies and books and stuff, and there's certain beats I want to hit. There's certain things I want to happen, and so that's what I'm going for. I'm just vibing, kind of talking about. I've been trying to make like a video for my patrons where I actually read from the book, but I'm kind of trying to hold off on that until I actually know that it's more or less close to the final wording of it. But this felt okay because like I know for sure that this is in the rear view in terms of like what the story is, because I don't want to spoil it too much. Like I've stumbled upon a fun story, I think, and one thing that's been fun is just the sheer amount of conspiracy research I've done over the last couple of years has paid off, and that it's absolutely broken my conspiracy brain, and now I find it very easy to form conspiracy theories. And there's a nice little conspiracy theory at the heart of this story that I think is fun. I'm trying to pull up my Russell research because I've got some really good quotes from him. Oh my god, it's gonna make me do a fucking 2-password bullshit to log into my email. Just hack me. I don't have interesting shit in my email, okay? Social media and oh no. It pulled it up on my phone and then it started doing it. Okay. I'm trying to pull up some of these fucking Russell things. I wish I could read you the book that I spent like a year writing and then polished and got all nice and then submitted to publishers and then nobody wanted, but I'm sitting on it because I think they'll want it someday. All right, let me show you. This isn't exactly what I was going to show you, but I'll show you this because it's cool. I found this thing that proved to be really convenient to have. It's a PDF. I'm going to upload it as a file. Chat, where are you at? Where are you at, chat? We're dying. I see 130 people are watching. Like the stream. This one's going to stay up for sure. I think I'm going to keep a couple more of these on the main channel and then transition to, streaming it on this and then leaving the VOD on the Sunday Service channel, which you should subscribe to, motherfuckers. I've been so bad about writing lately. I feel discouraged to actually try because publishing is such a pain. And then I hate everything I write because I do better. Well, okay, so this is the thing that I've learned because I feel all of this in my marrow. Publishing does fucking suck. I'm glad that I went through this process. I mean, I tried for a solid 8 months of querying, not like daily consecutively, but I would send out little batches here and there. And I got very nice feedback from publishers, not publishers, but literary agents. And they would just be like, I don't know how to sell this. The thing that I'm trying to sell is it's a kid's book. It's for middle grade audiences. So it's like a middle school age reader novel, which is also paranormal horror, not related to Jehovah's Witnesses at all. Got a lot of nice compliments. Nobody knew how to sell it or wanted to give me money for it. But it did make me much more excited to self-publish something, because I was like, well, that's the thing I can fucking publish. I can hit the publish button on the Amazon.com and it'll exist. So it gave me the confidence to do that. But here's what I'll say is, like, the thing that I've had to learn for me, which, what is this? Me, an unpublished author, giving fucking advice, which is not really worth anything. So take my worthless advice if you feel like it. The number one thing that's always hardest for me is finishing just a rough draft of something. You heard me right. A rough draft. It's really hard to finish a rough draft because you want it to, like, look good. You want to like read like a good book, and it doesn't. Like, rough drafts are shitty, but they're just for you. And that's what I've had to figure out, is like a rough draft is just a thing. It's just vomiting words onto a page. And then all of the rest of it is when you make it start to seem good. So, like, my rough draft for Not a Cult, half of it is like me switching verb tenses to be like, okay, then Ben is driving down the road and this horror set piece happens where blah, 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 blah. And then there's a, and then blah. Like, there's a lot of and then, but then I'll get super into writing one section and it's really detailed. And so it's not formatted correctly at all, but it keeps me moving forward. So at least I know what the beginning, middle, and end is generally. And that's the thing that's driving me fucking crazy right now. It's like, well, I'll say it because it doesn't matter. The only people who are going to read this are people watching this stream. So I'll tell you this. The thing that I'm having a really hard time cracking right now is the mechanism by which a demon is expelled. That's important in an exorcism story. Now, I'm open to suggestions, but there's a very specific kind of story happening here. And one of the things about religious horror is that it does generally tend to lean on the side of religion or faith being true. And I'm not religious, but for some reason, even as an atheist, I'm drawn to stories about, like, people struggling with faith. I love stories like that. That's why Lost is my favorite show, is because the entire fucking arc of the show is people struggling with faith. And yeah, okay, so this is exactly what this is what I want, right? Is the transference or the living with the demon. That's, I guess, kind of the Babadook ending, right? In the Babadook, the demon kind of represents grief or trauma, or the Babadook represents it. The titular Babadook, of course. And the resolution of that story is, like, it just kind of, like, lives in their basement and they feed it every once in a while. Like, they have to take active care of their grief, is the metaphorical story. And so I've got a metaphor going. I've got a nice arc for the characters. And I've got a thing that I think should happen, but I don't actually know. Yeah, Midnight Mass, holy shit, is the best. Midnight Mass is amazing. That was a show that me and Christina watched when she was Kimi still but questioning, and we just cried. We just cried so hard. Okay, so this is actually the whole impetus of the book. The whole thing that made me want to write an exorcism story for Jehovah's Witnesses is, like, as I'm watching all these exorcist movies and reading more horror books, I'm like, I just feel like it wouldn't work to just say Jehovah. I feel like demons sometimes are, like, they're just not going to leave. And if it, like, the first thing I wrote that kind of got me interested in it was just, like, this scene that was the shepherding call, where elders think they're going on, like, a routine shepherding call with this, woman who's inactive. And it turns out in the other room, she's got a pea soup vomiting exorcist kid, And then I decided to actually try and take it seriously. But I like the idea of like, this group believes in demons. They do not believe in exorcisms. They believe that exorcisms are a pagan ritual and that you do not need rituals to expel demons. So what happens when that doesn't work? Because obviously it wouldn't. And metaphorically, if the demons represent doubt, then it really doesn't work, because I don't know about you, but shepherding calls never made me feel better about my doubts. Oh, anagram, bad book is an anagram from Babadook. Hereditary is probably my favorite horror movie. I feel like these days that's kind of like a cliche choice. So this is also part of the story. I promise I'm not just like pretending that Jenny is affirming things that already exist. This really is it. Like, the idea that she has to live with it and accept it. My original idea was that she literally becomes a demon, which I don't. It's just not gonna work for the story. But it's something like that. I know what the thing is. I feel like I know what the scene is, but I don't know what the magic words are or what the fucking amulet is. There's got to be some mechanism by which there's some transference or some form of acceptance. And the best thing that I've come up with is just some kind of internal process of healing. I've just heard working through her shit. And so I think that's the direction I'm leaning in. It's just like she has to fucking work through her shit somehow internally. The secret box, funny enough, the secret box thing doesn't play into it at all. It doesn't play into it at all. It does play into what'll probably be the next self-published thing I do. Signet rings. That's honestly and truly and legitimately not a bad idea. That's not a bad idea. But you know what? Like, we saw The Nun 2, and there was just like an amulet at the end. And I was like, that sucks. As a resolution to a story, it just kind of sucks to be like, and then they used the right thing and it worked. Jenny is thinking on the correct path. We are apparently similarly scarred by this religion. I love that we're talking through. This is actually really helpful to me. If we're all cool here chilling for a minute and working through this shit. Midsummer's better. Okay, so here's the thing. I need to revisit Midsummer because I loved it. I think my first instinct was that I liked Midsummer better. But I've rewatched Hereditary more, and I've only watched Midsummer the once. I think because I feel like I can see that movie from beginning to end in my head still. Like it's fucking, I'm scarred for life still by it. So there's a few like tightropes I'm trying to walk with this book, which one is, I think, the most interesting way to present the story is to not have a character, an audience insert character that's asking questions like, what's a pioneer? What is 144,000 what's? There's none of that. It's just the characters talk like witnesses talk. And so you pick it up by context clues. I want this to just be appealing if you just like reading horror books. And the bet I'm trying to make is that it'll just make it even creepier. Like for XJWs will be like, yeah, this sounds accurate. But people who know nothing about it will just be like, this is the creepiest fucking thing. Why do they talk like that? So that's kind of what I'm trying to do. The other thing I am interested in is like actually using all of the mythology that Jehovah's Witnesses have against demons and trying to make some kind of mythology that works for the horror story. And so that's been kind of an interesting challenge. And what I settled on is that Russell actually had a way more interesting conception of demons than modern day Jehovah's Witnesses do. And that is what I've used as basis. So let me talk about this for a second. The blinding light of God in his throne, preventing you from critical thought, would be brutal. Oh, that's fucking good. That's good. Ooh. Anne says, oh my gosh, or OM gosh, I should say. This is so interesting. As a JW, I always felt cursed or had a demon influence somehow. No, I was just in a high school environment. Star of the demon. I know. I felt the same thing. I just felt like I was in this constant cosmic war, and Satan was kind of winning a lot. Exactly. I mean, that's for me. What's the best part of any cult documentary? It's when you see the cults. Is when you see their meetings and them just talking and going about their day, and you're like, people live like this. But then I think, yeah, they do, because that was me, and I did live like that. I didn't tell you guys about the time when I just lived in some lady's apartment and called her mother God because she talked to dead Robin Williams, but that's true. That's a big part of my life. Okay, so I found this really cool thing. Pastor Russell's sermons. This was published by the Bible students because there are still modern day Bible students. I swear to God, I'm going to end this soon because I'm getting hangry. I'm getting like a headache because I haven't eaten. But yeah, this is like a collection of Pastor Russell's sermons. I got it from like an official Bible student website. They're fucking enigmatic, by the way. I've emailed a few of these Bible student groups trying to just have somebody talk to me, like not from a I want to make content and make fun of you guys kind of way, but just, can you just tell me, I want to hear what your conception of Russell is. I want to hear what your thoughts on Jehovah's Witnesses are. There's a quote that I think is in this. I think it's in this. It's really crazy. Okay, is this. When the history of the Church of Christ is fully written, it will be found that the place next to St. Paul in the gallery of time as an expounder of the gospel of the great master will be occupied by Charles Taze Russell. That's some fucking strong language. Bold words, those. You might say. You might just about say bold words, those, to a thing like that. And so here's what's interesting to me. It's interesting that the religion changed a lot of the stuff that Russell said about demons. He still hung on to the idea that Satan's name in the Bible is Lucifer because he was using the King James Bible. Now that's considered a false religious teaching. Like that's straight up something they think is something from Satan's world. The psyop. It's a Satan psyop. Satan with a PS at the beginning. And so I just wonder how Russell would feel about that. That's all. That's all I'm saying. So they've got all of these sermons from Russell, and they're really weird. They're really weird. So I found some really good stuff here. But thank you for indulging me. I thought that we would have like 15 people left by the end of this. I can't believe that over 100 people stuck it out while I read just some bullshit that I wrote one afternoon. And I really appreciate it. I really appreciate it. If you like to write and you're an XJW, do it. It's really fun. It's really fun. And I think the way I've been able to do it more consistently is to accept, to do it for me, and to be like, I just want to write this because I'm just like in the mood, and I don't care about if it's good. You know what's inspiring? Reading bad poetry. There's a lot of poets out there just putting out some bullshit that sucks. But you know what? They're putting it out there. What am I doing? Not putting stuff out there. And like reading bad books. I've got a shelf full of Star Wars Expanded Universe novels. Some of them are good. A lot of them aren't. Ooh, okay. Let's end with this. Thank you, Deanna. Appreciate it. Regarding JW Midsummer, to make a comparison as an outsider, JW rhetoric, music, and publications are strangely and unsettlingly comforting to me. It gives me a real sense that I could fall in. That's why Midsummer is such effective horror, in my opinion. It makes you feel like you could be indoctrinated. 100% I agree with that. I feel this. Like when I really feel it when I do the art videos. So I got another one of those in the chamber that I got to edit. But that is something that I really feel. And I felt it when I was looking at the old pictures of me at just like congregation get-togethers. It's like, shit. It was cozy going to the shelter house at a park on a Sunday afternoon and just having hot dogs with people. Now, what's stopping me from doing that now? No, nothing's stopping me from doing that now. I could absolutely do that. I could just get friends together and we could do it, but it's hard. It's just nice to have that there. I appreciate that. Thank you. Fuck taxes. That's what I got to do. That's why I got to get off the stream right now. I got to finish doing that. Got to finish that. But yes, this is the journey, the scary journey for the Pomey character is holy shit. I think it's all true and I need to go back. And the scary journey for our Man of Faith character is that, this doesn't align with anything we're teaching. And so there's something going on, but I don't think I'm a part of the right religion. So there's kind of these two tracks going at the same time. So that was fun to do. I got to finish my taxes. The deadline is tomorrow, I do believe. Thanks, everyone. This was really fun. Remember 3 hours ago when I showed you a funny clip? Let's end it with that.
This is pornography. But first, apparently, Judge Rutherford had hundreds, maybe thousands of slaves and likely died by AIDS. We must reject apostate lies and the false stories of my mother. How much greater is a homosexual than a million Jehovah's Witnesses? 1,000 times greater. So we're talking about thousands of homosexual Hebrews, and likely 3 Hebrews can successfully complete a decathlon. I know Jesus died in childbirth. Jehovah died in 2012, a little over 8 years ago, and his overseer, a tree, died in combat. But in the new world, apparently, my mother will need to be a homosexual. But cancer prevented that from happening.